Oh, yeah. A garland. Hell yeah.
All right, hello everyone. I just realized I left my kettle on the range, so I'm gonna have to go take care of that in a second. Hello everyone.
Wow.
Introduce yourselves.
Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa.
March-san desu. Hajimemashite. Sashibori desu to some. Kochira koso dozo yoroshiku onegaishimasu.
¿Dónde está biblioteca?
Baño, por favor. Oh, it's another Saturday night. We've gotten through to, we're now broadcasting a tad on the late side because of technical Saturday night. So, but we're here.
Yeah, Ghost in the Machine, and yay, good. Brent did not let his home burn down, so that's good.
Yes.
Because we've all learned that fire is pain.
Yes, exactly.
But pain don't hurt, according to Roadhouse. So, I know that much.
But if I understand anything, those people who are killed are dead.
Oh, that's right. People die when they're killed.
Exactly. Right? There you go.
It's just a very long sleep.
That's true. Yes, they just move on to
the next fitches.
Next week, yes. Hey, Spin. Hey, Captain Laser Eyes. Good to see you. Standout shows of the last season. We'll be talking about that actually in a couple weeks when we do our review show of the previous season.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
I'll be honest, I haven't been following too much of the previous season, but tonight we'll be talking about the next season, which is very exciting. Lots to talk about coming up in the spring 2021 anime season. But now,
tons to talk about.
Tons to talk. Oh yes, we have.
Oh yes.
A lot of things to talk about.
Many things.
Many things. So how you guys doing?
Tired.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can understand why. Yeah, I can understand why you guys would be tired. I mean, fortunately, I was able to space a lot of this out, so I didn't lose vision in one eye this time around. So.
Yeah, John and I just watched 23 episodes of anime back to back to back to back to back to back to back. So,
and some of them, like Steve, what you were doing all week, I did all week. I watched them again.
Wow.
Specifically and solely that I could see the reactions of everybody in the watch party to be like, okay, am I crazy for liking this, or are we all particularly insane? Okay, cool. I feel validated.
There we are. Oh, sorry, Captain Laser Eyes. Don't worry about it. We'll be talking about Haruhi next week. So next week is the appearance of Haruhi Suzumiya. So that was not wasted time. No worries at all. Yeah, that was actually my mistake, transcribing the bot. So it's all good. It's all good. We just got a week early on all of that because today, wonderfully, because it is time for that, we're going to do our spring 2021 anime preview guide. That's right. We're going to talk about 23 anime airing this season. So as usual, we sat down, we watched episode 1 of a bunch of new anime airing this season. We skipped anything that was a season 2 or a 3 or whatever. And we skipped any sequels. So not numbered things. And we skipped anything that was obviously aimed at really young kids. And we still couldn't get through it all.
Yeah.
There is
so much.
Just so much out there. I actually have a count here. I don't think I got... Oh, so we... there were something like 30 anime this season on TV. Just within that count, not to mention all the sequels and so forth and so on. So, yeah.
Yeah, spread across Crunchy, Netflix, Funimation.
Yep. A couple things that weren't licensed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, what? It's insane. But again, I keep saying this, and I will keep saying it. Yay.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I would so totally prefer that to being like, okay, it's now our anime review for the 10 that are new this season.
Yeah.
Like,
and the one that actually lasted 20 minutes and all the rest were like,
yeah.
I remember those seasons where it was like, just gosh, it's like, okay, there's anime, but there's like a handful of things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely no complaints.
Now there's armloads of stuff. Armloads.
Including Mecha, which is rather nice. And that's where we'll start with 86.
Oh.
This is an anime that is not for the youngins.
Grim.
Yeah.
Grim.
Very grim. Definitely grimdark. Reminded me of the more serious Gundam series out there. Definitely that vibe. Basic premise set in a world of... Now, I say mecha. I mean mecha in the more broad sense. They're like four-legged cannons, basically.
Right.
And there's a war with drones.
Combat walkers, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a war with drones, but some of the drones aren't actually drones. And so all the drama thereof. It's pretty grim. Like there's, again, think like, soldiers fighting in a war where no one kind of really acknowledges their existence, and there's people die in the first episode, put it that way.
Yeah, you start off the episode like looking at this society that's seems to be like very prosperous, and everyone's got this very light blue hair, very light eyes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They look very healthy.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm going somewhere with this. And they're fighting this war, but it doesn't look like there's a war there.
Mm-hmm.
So they're fighting this war, and your main character, who she is a major, and she goes through it, and she's upset about using these drones, and everyone's like, why are you upset using drones? And then you figure out what the drones are.
Yeah.
And they're not people with light blue hair and very light eyes and skin that is so white that, if they should ever actually see the real sun, they would just burst into flames.
Mm-hmm.
But your paleness is an indication of your privilege.
Apparently
in this world.
Yeah. And which is a clue, because the people doing the actual fighting do not look like that.
Correct. Yes, they are very tanned and Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Scarred.
Well, which is how many animes do you need to see where somebody's like, "Oh, you went to Okinawa, you're so tan," and it's like, they make a kind of thing about that.
Yeah, it's unclear whether it's like actual racial cleansing at this point,
right,
or whether it's like just been a lot of genetic engineering on the populace or what's going on. They don't get into that in episode 1, but I'm sure they will at some point.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to go interestingly from here on out.
I will say about the first half of the episode is like entirely focused on this young woman major, kind of her stuff going on, and it's kind of slow. And there's not much going on. It's more just here's the character, here's kind of what she's dealing with, and then the last half is more, introducing you to the pilots and so forth and so on. For me, it kind of picked up more in the last half of the episode as you're starting to get more of a feel of, oh, okay, here are kind of the characters we're dealing with.
Right.
But just so you don't think that you're starting off this anime board, there's literally like that 30-second scene.
Oh gosh,
yeah, where basically it's so intense that you're just like, the hell am I watching?
Yeah.
Because there's this guy who's just yelling in the background. You don't know who he is. You see a point of view of somebody or something, and they're going down railroad tracks, and then suddenly they're in battle, and then screaming starts. And then it cuts to this very beautiful girl.
It starts with a bang in multiple senses.
Well, it reminded me a lot of Ange Verge, which was Princess of the Empire, and everybody who's like in the Empire has mana and can do like mana-related magic stuff, and you are cast out to be like a robot fighter. If you don't have mana, and everything's cool until they figure out the princess doesn't have mana. She then gets basically kicked from being royalty to being the scum of the earth and sent to die fighting these robots. And that's what exactly this reminded me of. And I was like,
and that whole prison scene at the end of that particular I'm like, oh, we went there, literally went there.
Yeah. And 86 is darker because if you think about Ange Verge, it's like it's very light kind of coloration. It's very bright, very poppy. And 86 is just like, wow, once you get beyond the clean city and you get to see what's going on in District 86, it's like, wow, it's just gritty grime and death. I'm like,
and as one person just pointed out now, dropped a cake.
Yeah. And cake. And there's cake.
And cake.
And cake.
But I think you're absolutely right, Ginger, that there's conformity and, looking alike and so forth is very much a theme of the show, which is a Japanese, stereotype, I think would be the right word for it. Like common thing, common in Japanese society, and common,
Yeah.
like a common element there. So yeah, you're looking for grim dark, not even just grim dark, but grim mecha.
Grim.
That's definitely what you got this season. Moving on, and we go alphabetically, just for simplicity, not because it flows well. So going from
Red prepares you for the next thing.
Backflip, good lord.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Joyous.
So, okay. Oh,
I really enjoyed Backflip.
Really?
I really enjoyed Backflip.
Dear.
So I'm very proud of this. I called it Yuri on Mat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's basically a bunch of hot guys who do rhythm gymnastics, and that's
Right.
Yeah.
So
And the CGI is nice. I mean,
Yeah.
they did
Yes.
a good job with the CGI.
Yep.
They use that really very nicely for the floor exercise in a darkened arena, so it's just that thing going on, and then sparingly movements that were 2D'd.
So basically, anytime they need to show a bunch of characters all doing complex interactions, it's all CGI and it's all kind of from a distance. So it kind of makes sense of making everything kind of interweave. And then the rest is basically 2D. With, as we noticed, I think 1 or 2 like 3D assists of like just using that as a reference for the 2D. But yeah.
So these were my notes. Sports anime, boys gymnastics. Baseball fan becomes a gymnastics fan. Also played other sports, making perfect for gymnastics. Ugh. All right.
Ugh. Oh, come on, Steve.
Yeah.
You don't have any love for rhythm gymnastics.
Yeah.
Let me get my ribbon out.
No, I really liked it. I think it was well done. I also think, like, obviously there is there's almost always some kind of hints of like BL, underneath the surface of these shows.
Just a little.
Just a little. And I think they did a good job of kind of sprinkling those in for the fans without lingering, without making a big deal of that. Where it's like, okay, if you want to pair folks up, go for it. Here's the one person blushing about somebody else. That's fine.
Right.
But we kind of
ship where you need to.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not like, okay, let's bring the show to a screeching halt for these scenes. So
yeah. Well, I think certainly if you enjoyed Free, I think if you enjoyed Yuri on Ice, I think this is completely within your realm of enjoyability. You know what I mean? I can't say necessarily that anything we watched made me go, my gosh, they've just reinvented the genre. And these male characters are like just delicious, like eating cake. No, they're fairly standard tropey kind of characters. And it's the most inventive part I was impressed with was just literally the 3D. That's the part I was just like, wow, you guys really made some good choices in that, and you thought about I don't know how much they must have watched to even program getting the CGI to move that way with the fluidity that it had. So I was impressed by that.
Completely agree. One of those where if you hear boys rhythm gymnastics, that's the anime in your head. Like that's exactly what you're gonna get. No surprises, but exactly that. Boy, can I not describe though Battle Athletes Victory Restart. So I unironically love Battle Athletes Victory. This is a sequel to a '90s sports franchise. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but again, I have no. I'm incredibly biased because I've seen all this other stuff and I understand kind of where they're going with things, and I can appreciate a lot of little stuff they're pulling in. So I really enjoyed it, but I'm much more interested to hear what you guys thought of Battle Athletes.
I'm not really sure I had that much of a feel off of it. I'm kind of interested to see how the main girl character, like, how's she going to interact with all these other disparate characters? But I've seen so many other shows that are Lapis Relights comes to mind immediately, where Lapis Relights is like K-On! It's like Love Live. It's you've got a group of these females that are doing a thing. It could be singing, it could be whatever that thing is. But you've got this prickly personality person, and how does the plucky like young female protagonist draw in these disparate personalities to really do the thing?
And that's very much the previous series.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not. I don't have a problem watching it, but I'm not entirely sure that of all the freaking list of things to do,
yeah,
I'm not entirely sure this is going to be like, oh, I have to make sure this is in the top 10.
Yeah, hasn't grabbed
I will
you,
certainly I will certainly enjoy it as I'm able to like knock some of the other things off the list, and I'm waiting. I've got that wait period. I've watched Tuesday, the newest episodes of everything I can get to, and now I have to wait till next Tuesday. This certainly would be somewhere in that.
Okay, yeah,
it's nice.
Yeah, I didn't get to this one. I think I had watched Burning Kabaddi, and I was like, no, I can't.
And that left me with a burning desire for comedy. Oh boy.
So yeah, I think Battle of its Victory, and obviously it was not obviously. It's a sci-fi sports anime. So it's set in a future where they're doing kind of Olympic style sports, but in a very sci-fi setting. So it's very Olympics-esque. Kind of multiple different sports going on at once. Or being competed on throughout the course of the series. So that's the kind of vibe you're going to get. All teenage girls all competing. One thing I do want to point out about this series that does interest me, that's not in the original series, is that one of the characters has an artificial hand and an artificial leg.
Yeah.
And they've introduced basically prejudice within the world against athletes who compete with artificial limbs. And so some people just don't like that, and they think, okay, is that a form of doping, essentially, where you have this thing and this gives you an advantage? It's unfair. So I'm curious to see where they're going to go with that. I think that's a neat idea for this kind of a universe.
Do you think they'll effectively deal with it, or do you think it's just going to be that sort of like pop up, maybe address it a little bit, and then just walk away from it to the main story?
In Battle of its Victory, at least, they would deal with stuff like that. So any sort of issue or conflict would eventually get addressed in the show some way, pretty directly. Particularly the America versus Russia rivalry, which is still going 3,000 years from now, apparently. So okay. It's weird. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, but whatever. Speaking of, next one, Burning Kabaddi. Yeah. Comedy. So we were talking when we were watching it. One of the show has to do a lot because the vast majority of people have never heard of kabaddi. It's a full contact sport, sort of tackle tag, if you will, but with rules in different areas. And so you got to get introduced to the characters, get introduced to the sport, and also get introduced to kind of the kind of the premise of the show, like who's going to be doing what and all that kind of stuff. So
all in one episode.
Oh yeah, and they certainly accomplished all that. It struck me as very sort of shonen.
Yeah, actually, I got that vibe too. Yeah. When I
go ahead.
When I was watching it, and just kind of going, just kind of because apparently the sports anime did not grab me this season.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of going through this. Now I had heard of this before because for my channel I talk about certain things like that, like Dashi and things of that nature. So odd little games like that. So it's interesting. The concept is interesting.
Yeah.
But as they went through the whole thing, it just felt like everything was just like we're going to action.
Yeah.
And everything's intense and everything's high, in your face. But of course, they're trying to get through so much through it. By the end of it, you're just like going, oh, I don't care.
I wonder if they're going to go to nationals at the end of it.
Yeah, right. Gee.
Or if we don't get enough members, will the program be canceled?
No. Yeah.
What I'm really curious about is to know more about his YouTube channel.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty over the top in a very sort of in that shonen way, right? Where the characters are kind of tropey and very ridiculous. But that is kind of fun to have that in a sport that is as kind of rugby-esque as this is. But yeah, and Ginger, yeah, and I had problems with the main character too. Like I think he's going to be divisive. People will either love him or just not care, right? It's just folks are going to bounce off that kind of character a lot.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But yeah, definitely.
Trying to watch it, it's going to be a real struggle.
Yeah. Nice. Struggle. Speaking of great struggles, we need to talk next about Cestus.
Oh God!
Yeah,
I swear to God, folks, there are anime that I actually did like this season, which is hitting them in a certain way. We'll get there. Trust me.
Cestus was your number one.
My eyes.
Berserk in Rome.
Jeez. So the manga, which I've never really gotten that far into, is actually enjoyable and it is not intense, but it's kind of shonen-esque, and it leads you on a story, on a trail, and you enjoy it. Yeah. So as far as I've gotten with it, and I've heard a lot of people who have gone farther in the manga than I have. Really enjoying this manga, and it has a historical component that I enjoy. And so then when they started shooting, the show came on, and I realized that it was all CGI anime, which I'm not hep on sometimes. For a while. And then and it was just real.
It's weird because
really bad.
Because
not as bad as Hack 13, but
not many things are as bad as that.
Yeah,
I've not seen that. That sounds like something I need to experience.
Oh boy. So we what's weird about it is that we were talking earlier about the fact that there aren't a lot of cheap shows this season.
Yeah.
Right.
The budget in Cestus is spent in a way that I don't understand. Because the opening couple of minutes, and then I think the opening credits sequence is all CGI, characters, everything else. And it's all, I'm just going to say it, the CGI Berserk series that everyone hates. It's kind of like that, kind of stiff and all that thing.
Yeah.
And then it's 2D, 4 minutes in, kind of inexpensively done. It's okay, but it's just kind of very basic, character here, character there, a little bit of movement, that sort of forth. And it's just, all right. And then the end credits is all stills of CGI characters, with maybe a little bit of movement in there. And it's I don't understand why you would do.
Yeah, and the flip out from the beginning CGI, the 3D to the 2D.
Yeah,
it's there isn't some kind of transitional thing where you're oh, now we've got these beautifully sort of hand rendered panoramas of the city and everything else, and then the CGI is kind of in there with it. It's nope, it just stops.
Yeah, that's
and now it's 2D.
That's the weird thing. There's no CGI crowds, none of that. It's just okay. It's bizarre. Yeah, Berserk 2016. It's very strange. It also has the disadvantages that it is not the most historically accurate anime I've ever seen.
No.
It's sort of Rome soup. Kind of all.
It's historically inspired.
Yeah, there we are. Yeah. So it feels very much like a 13-year-old boy's vision of what Roman gladiator arenas are. Not a lot of research done.
Yeah.
And Nero.
Yeah.
Really?
That's who we had to deal with.
Yeah, it's strange.
Well, just as we talked about it, it's sort of kind of it's much more reminiscent of Caligula as a child than it is Nero as a child.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's strange.
Yeah.
And I love that. And maybe this is kind of a joke, but all of the Roman elite are all blonde-haired and blue-eyed because, of course, when you're doing a live-action movie about Rome, they're all British, right? You always
Exactly.
ask British people for those. So that might just be kind of like, ha 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 ha, I don't know. But it's always kind
You
of
saying
like,
Sir Derek Jacobi as Claudius was not accurate?
Exactly.
Oh,
Claudius.
blasphemer.
I
We're going
mean,
to revoke your British Museum license.
don't get me wrong. That is an amazing miniseries. Claudius.
Yes, it
Oh
is.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Especially go back and you realize, oh, this is like 3 sets. Like, they just,
They did a lot.
Yeah.
With a very little.
Yep. All British acting. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
they can do it. So yeah, Cestus, bit of a disappointment for me, but who knows. Moving on to the combatants will be dispatched. And this is kind of an interesting one.
You've got
sorry.
X-Arm. Yeah.
What?
X-Arm.
Oh, I got the wrong image. Wait a second.
Showing
I
up.
will fix that while we switch over. There we go. So combatants will be dispatched. We're talking. This is kind of a spot the trope anime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a whole bunch of ridiculous things all thrown together, which I enjoyed a lot. Like I found it fun just in that ridiculous anime, element.
Yeah, you take this for what it is, and you will enjoy it. It was nice because this is what I followed up Cestus with was this one, and I was just like, yes, I am entertained.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing that's very nice about it is it certainly, like, watch that episode, it is certainly by no means somebody being like, this is my contribution to history.
Right.
It's like,
Right.
no, this is like committee sitting down and be like, what kind of stupid stuff can we throw into an anime? Let's sure do it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that's the joy of it. It's like, it knows it's an idiot show, and it's great for that.
Yeah.
Yep. Fun action adventure.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. I do appreciate that that Alice keeps the shotgun. Apparently, that continues to be her thing. So yeah, just ridiculous sort of sci-fi fantasy mishmash, craziness, all thrown together. Yeah,
it has an Evil Dead feel to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Moving from stupid fun to neither of those things. Don't toy with me, Miss Nagatoro.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Oh dear my.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to like this show, and I never read the manga or anything like that, and I've heard about this, but I'm kind of looking at my notes, and I watched it, and I was just like, are we trying to do reverse bullying? Is this why? It's almost why. I mean, beforehand, combatants must perish. You get the idea that this is silly and fun and whatever. You just take it for what it is. This one is clearly supposed to go somewhere, but you're like, but why does it exist? Why is this girl doing this to this guy? This poor guy. And I'm like totally sympathize with this guy. He just wants to be left alone.
Mm-hmm.
For God's sakes, girl, leave him alone. But she's just pushing those buttons, and it's just like going, why are we doing this? What is the message here?
And that's the thing. So the premise is, essentially, group of girls see this guy in the library. One of them goes over and starts picking on him, and just continues picking on him. That's the entire episode, and that's basically the plot of the story. Is that she decides to pick on this guy constantly. Yeah. He is now her target for bullying. Period.
And the weird thing is, at the end of it, you realize that he's a masochist, and he's just like, oh yeah, I just enjoy talking to you.
Yeah.
Dude, she's smacking you into rivers.
It's not just psychological abuse; it's physical abuse as well.
And she's just like getting up in your grill, and then the end credits, you realize that how much more we were all into for this, and we're just like, well, there's things where she's like, you didn't draw my inside lines, you didn't solve you didn't draw the territory, and it's just like, what? Stop, please.
Yeah, I don't see it taking a high road after this point.
No. That's the weird thing. Yeah, the kind of sad attempted tsundere, where it's like you're kind of missing the point of that, and just making the character cruel, as opposed to just kind of standoffish. It's very bizarre, and like I mentioned, I've read the first volume of the manga, and it was just that all the way through, and I was like, it's just bullying. That's all it is.
And the thing of it is that if they just did it just for a little bit during the course of the episode, and they had other things going on that made you understand that there was more of a story, which there's gotta be. But it's that all the way through it, and I'm like, my God, she's a poster child for Ritalin. I mean, please, don't give her a pill, mainline it. I mean, my God, And then like every time like you see the close up of her face and her eyes are like different sizes.
Pupils are like whacked out. Yeah,
the psycho look. You're just like, oh, okay. Yeah. What high pitched voice nonsense are we going through?
Senpai.
Oh boy. Yeah. This is one of the anime that I really want to recut into a horror trailer.
Yes, it would work.
It's very much what it feels like.
Yep.
It's.
I am creeped out enough, but you know what? I'm gonna end up doing this like I did for Redo of Healer, where after that first episode of Redo of Healer, I was like, oh, hard no.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, no, you know what? Just see where we're gonna try and go with this, and see if I can understand why you're doing this. So I'm gonna keep trying to slog Nagatoro a little bit more.
Thank you for taking it for us.
Yeah, to see how are you gonna redeem this?
Please, please tell me how this turns out, because I really do feel that there is something supposed to be here and happen, and there's some type of message, and something.
And to be clear, there's an amazing.
But I'm not getting it now.
There's an amazing live action movie. And I'll try to remember it and post it later. It's basically kind of this concept where the premise is, and it's not in a physical way, but a sadist and a masochist meet as teenagers. The boy is a masochist. She is a sadist. She rejects him. He just keeps showing up. And just won't accept that rejection, and she just keeps making his life more and more miserable, and he just keeps taking it because that's his love. And the movie does an amazing job of showing how horribly messed up that is for both of them. And it has this perfect ending, and I love that movie because it takes that concept and presents it as a Shakespearean tragedy. It's like this is not something that you should be laughing at. This is not something whatever. It's this is a thing, and unfortunately, some people fall into these relationships. Yeah. And so if you can, it can be handled well. This does not seem like that.
No, no, it does not.
Yeah.
No. But like I said, I want to know how you redeem this, because there's no way in hell presenting this concept for an anime to a committee.
Yeah.
I mean, not everybody in that committee could
how do you pitch
struck
this?
Insane at one moment. It's unlikely. So it's got to be doing something. So I'm going to hopefully be able to stomach enough of this to see where it goes.
I'm just going to be mad if over the next week I suddenly wake up in a cold sweat and I hear the echoing voice of Senpai. Is this you, Senpai? Is this you? You couldn't be this.
Yes.
Hey. Wow.
Ginger in the chat says probably the messiest series of the season in terms of its premise. It's gonna. It has some stiff competition. I will admit, it may well be the messiest. Yeah. But this is a season.
It's up there, though.
Yeah. But before we get to there, we'll get there. But before we get to there, something a lot more. More fun and innocent. Dragon goes house hunting.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Only elf whose specialty is construction and real estate.
Real estate. My dad was a real estate appraiser, so so like I was watching this, I was just like going, "Oh my God, this is like." Oh my God! I'm just watching it, and okay. So this is in the same vein as I'm a Spider Not So One. for me. In
Okay.
that it's it's just this nice, cute little thing. This poor dragon doesn't like sleeps and doesn't wash the egg, and the egg gets taken, and now he's kicked out of the house, and he has to. It's like a fantasy world with very real world concepts. It's like, all right, you're booted. Oh, I have to find a place, and then everywhere he goes, there's like, we're going to eat you. No, we're gonna make weapons out of you. He's like thinking like, okay, I'm gonna die, but at least there'll be a cool sword at the end of this.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Except for his -7 luck.
I know, right?
He's not going to be a cool sword with that kind of luck.
And he can't fly in that scene where he thinks he's flying. Is glorious. I love it. And it's just like he's just point to point. You're just like, this is zoom. You're like, yep.
Here we go.
Yeah. One thing I really appreciate is how it's a very silly premise, and they are very much executing on that silliness, where it's just, we're gonna have fun with this idea, go forward. But also, like, I really like the fantastical environments.
Yeah.
Where it's not just, okay, here's a forest and here's a desert. Like, you see lots of different homes and lots of different kinds of styles of fantasy environments, which is really cool. But yeah,
it'll be a fun show to just dial into after watching 86 or.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
And I'll be like, oh, I think I need some dragon house hunting after that.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, one of the best scenes is the slimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the scene, and it's just like Eddie's like couple, like newlywed couple, find their first home, and they're just gushing over this one layer that they find, and it's I can't. It's great.
It's worth the watch.
It is.
I can't think of a transition for this one because what we have to talk about next is Fairy Ronmaro. It's
the one I actually took time on. Oh jeez.
Oh yeah. So Fairy Ronmaro is kind of interesting to me because of how heavily stylized it is.
Very.
Hot elf guys are sent to Earth by a goth loli princess, kind of.
Yes,
Queen.
goth loli princess
Goth-loli
and
queen.
her queen,
Mm-hmm.
and her Sebastian like butler.
Exactly.
Yep.
And these fairies
To collect attachments.
To collect
which Nobody
attachments.
explains what the hell an attachment is.
Whereupon they all enter, and when they have to deal with something, they all enter Madoka magical world of all of the weird eyes and cutouts and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot going on in this. It just throws a lot at you.
Yeah.
I thought watching it, because I was like, okay, this is clearly a video game, or it's some giant pop idol franchise or something. And no, it's this anime TV series.
This is all it is.
It's BTS the movie?
Yeah.
Or the TV show?
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like it though, but so as soon as it comes up and you see the Force, they're naked,
Of course.
and
yeah, right,
and so I'm like going, oh, okay, this is a boy love thing, I guess, and
It's boylicious.
it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And they do their. I'm like, okay, it's a reverse isekai. They're coming to Earth as opposed to the other way around. And they get down there, and then you never. And they even talk about, okay, we have to get these attachments. What are attachments? And none of them can figure it out. Nobody knows what it is.
Yeah.
Until the end, at the end of the first episode, and they just it's really not my I am so not in the demographic for this guy. It's just like. No, I'm not a screaming 14-year-old girl. There's this the one scene that made me go, oh, good Lord. The one scene that made me go, good Lord, was when the two of the fairies, the one with the really long silver hair and the one with the really short pixie hair, they're saying he's drawing or painting something, a scene, and the little
the
one
student
goes,
council president? Yeah.
yeah, the little one is just like, oh, you paint so well. And he goes, I is simply drawing beauty because all of life is and the hair does the thing, and then the little pixie guy goes, oh, but you're beautiful, and I'm like, it's like, no, we can't do this. But I made the mistake. I was telling the guys before this. made the mistake of like when they show the cards. So they're giving cards that they give out to people. They're supposed to give out these cards. And for a brief second, you see the card and it has an actual QR code. So for some godforsaken reason, I screenshot it and I was just like, this can't possibly be. Click. Yep, it's a thing. So
Steve's quest for knowledge.
For knowledge, and this is the thing that I spent time on. Of course, nothing else. This is what I spent the time on. I went into Bar F land, and it is literally, that's all this is. It's all about the show. It's from beginning to end. Soundtracks.
It's basically the official website, right?
Basically,
Okay.
Yeah, it's an official website, and it's just like I'm like going, oh god. They don't do this because they're all sitting around in the cafe going, hello. And there's like,
nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
It sells. It sells.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I guess there must be a point because I actually went that far to.
Hey, there we go.
Stupid website.
But no, it's funny because it's the kind of premise, the kind of show in terms of the psychology they're going after of trying to understand attachments and deal with attachment. Again, it's sort of a magical boy show. Right. I could see myself getting into it because of that and the way they're addressing, people have to deal with issues, and the whole cyberbullying aspect of the first episode.
Right.
But there's...
Which, by the way, did you find the resolution really that correct?
Oh, it was problematic. It was very problematic ending. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yes. And that's the thing, is that I was very intrigued by those elements of it, but the first episode threw so many things at me. There's just so much going on, so much unexplained, and it doesn't feel like it's leading you on. It feels like, we just didn't have time to explain what this thing was.
Right.
That it just, it just didn't come together for me. And classic one of those things, if someone came back and said, oh, no, this goes places. Like, this totally goes places. I'd be willing to come back to it and give it a try. It just felt a little, sloppy is maybe not the right word, but just, I don't know.
The takeaway that I got from the end of the first episode, which I know is not what I was supposed to take away with, but that's what I got, was it was as if they were trading one attempted suicide for another.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
At the end, and it's just kind of like, doesn't that kind of defeat the whole purpose of why you guys are here?
Yeah, and that's, again, I
hope you save the nice person, and the bad person gets their just desserts, right?
Right. It's like,
Right.
I wonder. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm not a super huge, magical girl kind of person, so to me, it really doesn't matter whether it's a group of magical boys or a group of magical girls. It's okay. I'm all right with it. I'm not. It was an interesting watch. I could say I've experienced it now, and as I said before, it's boylicious, and that's great. That's super.
Yep, exactly. Moving to a show that is very much not boylicious and is much more clear about what it is. Farewell, My Dear Kramer.
Yes.
Which is the girls' soccer anime of the season. Lovely art style on this. I really like the character designs, very simple, very clean.
Yep.
And it's about a group of girls, I think freshmen in high school, starting a soccer club in their high school. It deals with the fact that the popularity of girls soccer took kind of a nosedive in recent years, and so a lot of the girls soccer teams and apparently this is a real thing. A lot of the girls soccer clubs in various schools kind of had to close, and so obviously this is a girls who really believe in girls soccer and are trying to keep that moving. I do appreciate the fact that it is following a lot of tropes of typical sports anime, but there is no one super player, right? A bunch of the girls are good, and they're all kind of finding their synergies with each other. And there's obviously a main girl, but she is not this absurdly amazing girl who's going to carry the entire team.
Right.
So that's nice. And yeah, I no idea who Kramer is. I'm gonna look that up now and see if there's more info about that. But
that's why it answered Kira and said, "We'll find out in episode 12."
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to watch the whole thing. I liked the character facial designs because it reminded me, like as I said when we were watching it, reminded me of Your Lie in April, Calories kind of face, the way that her eyes are done and the way that Arima's character is done. It's that openness of their facial expressions makes it very nice to see as they're experiencing stuff and you see those emotions kind of move across their faces, that it's done in a way that's very accessible, and I really enjoyed that. I don't really follow sports anime, but damn, I kind of like this one.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is kind of neat. I like to see the interaction, the different the two enemy girls, Sue and So,
something like that.
Those two. How they end up going to the same high school because they sort of so empathized with the girl in a losing match, and therefore she's like, I want to be. She's like me. I'm going there.
Yeah.
And the other girl's like, no, I wanted to go to the one that was the better team. It's
Yeah.
like, no, now you guys are starting someplace. And you're working your way up, and you're going to go to No, leave that part out of it. Yeah. They're going to go to regionals at least.
Yeah. By the way, I just looked it up. Farewell, My Dear Kramer was originally a manga by Naoshi Arakawa. Guess what he made before Farewell, My Dear Kramer? Your Lie in April. All comes around.
Oh, good on me. My brain remembered things.
There we go. So yeah, that was a fun one.
I won't have to poke it with a Q-tip to wake it up. Right.
But yeah, also I do want to call out, and again, this may sound creepy. It doesn't mean like, it does not concentrate on the girls' bodies. Right?
Yes.
There's not a lot of like TNA shots or anything like that. They're just girls. They don't have huge breasts all the time. Right? It's just very much freshman girls. JJ Big Brain, totally. And then we move over to it's a show, Full Dive, AKA, and I'm going to try to get the full title here. Full Dive, the ultimate next gen full dive RPG, is even bleepier than real life.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this a lot. I actually really enjoyed this one. So basically, main character goes to or plugs into a VR game that is the ultimate realistic VR game, and so everything has consequences. Like everything goes, and things like, and they haven't talked about this in great detail, but like if the next town is 20 days away, you have to spend 20 days in real time walking there to get there. There's no fast travel. Like everything is like realistic. And so then they have to, and he has to deal with the consequences of his actions, which are unfortunate.
Yeah, no resets.
No resets.
No
yes.
restarts. No nothing.
And bad things happen. And so on the one hand, it has a lot of those elements of a. It's definitely a comedy, set in kind of this thing. Some fan service. What I appreciate is that it felt like they were taking the dramatic turns lightly enough that yes, there are bad things happen. Yes, he does things that are one should not do in these situations. It's nothing pervy.
Right.
That I could kind of laugh along with it throughout the entire episode, and so it just felt like it was a extreme concept done for comedy is what it felt like for me.
I didn't get to see it, but from the description and the way you described it it seems like the Penn and Teller video game where you're driving to Vegas overnight,
Desert Bus,
and you have to play the game in real time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, see, I liked seeing it with others because when I watched it earlier this week, I was never going to get near this again.
Really?
and that's sad because I've watched now the second episode.
Okay.
But it sort of gave me that powerful sort of doujinshi moment where it's like, you know what, I would rewrite this, and this is exactly what I would do.
Yeah.
And it's like you know what I mean? It's like I've bought games, and mind you, he paid like an exorbitant amount of money for a crap 10-year-old game. But I've bought games. I've spent $50 on games, gotten them home, and tried to play them for like a couple of weeks, and not been able to make any progress. Panzer General 2 comes immediately to mind. I could not get past the very first phase, where literally you have some very basic units that should be stronger than the opposition, and I got wiped every single time. And you have to complete that first part to move on. I never could complete the first part. So the game's somewhere in the basement, and it's been there for 20 years. Because I recognized I was not getting any joy out of it. I was getting increasingly angry and frustrated. And the end result was I did not enjoy what I was doing. So this, where it's like everything goes dramatically wrong for what he's doing. And as opposed to being like, that's it, pull the plug, throw it in a box, and I'm out $100.
Right.
He soldiers on. So I'm glad I watched it with all of you guys that like give me, okay, like I need to back away from my experience with bad games. I have to stop projecting me onto this because I would rage quit this in a heartbeat and then go back to Riona and be like, you either going to give me a store credit and I'm going to buy something else, or I'm going to have some serious issues because this game sucks. So I'm now that I've seen episode 2, I'm going to dial back out of the rage, back into the part where I can enjoy this. Because there are some very amusing moments in the second episode that Brent, I think you're going to adore.
Okay.
It's awesomely funny.
All right.
So that, again, having the crowd experience does help me to dial into like a more neutral zone, and I think I can see where I can enjoy more out of this.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So we've talked about Full Dive. We get to move on to Higehiro. AKA, after being rejected, I shaved and took in a high school runaway.
Which is a title in and of itself.
This is an interesting show. So basic premise, salaryman gets drunk. He looks to be late 20s, maybe 30s, something along those lines. And they mentioned at some point that he's like assistant manager, assistant, he's of rank, if you will.
Assistant project, somebody or other.
Yeah. And he, he's walking home drunk, after being rejected by a woman, and sees a high school girl just sitting by the side of the road. She has nowhere to go, and she offers herself to him in exchange for the night.
For lodging.
And he goes, I no, but also, something is going on here. And so he ends up inviting her back home so she'll be off the street at least for the night. They go to sleep. Nothing happens.
Separately,
yes, separately, exactly.
Well, separately, yes.
And basically the premise is it turns out she's made several bad decisions in her life. He realizes that she needs a little bit of direction, and so he decides to let her stay with him, basically room and board in exchange for like doing chores and so forth. Just kind of temporarily until like he's clearly it's kind of like until you realize that you need to go home, right. I'm going to kind of keep you here until you kind of figure all that stuff out. That said, it's a 30-year-old man who is keeping this teenage girl at home. Again, nothing physical between them, and I do appreciate the fact that he says
not for the like she tries.
No, not for like that's one of the things. Like she's totally okay with that. She's clearly done that before. But he
puts her in an interesting position as probably knowing more things.
Yeah.
Let's just call it things.
Things.
She probably knows more things in the period of time that she's been away from home that he hasn't experienced in his entire 30 years.
She's probably had a lot of experience. Yeah. And again, I appreciate the fact that he says multiple times, not into that. Like, no, not physically attracted to that at all. He finds her, for lack of a word, cute in a, young person, high school girl way, right?
Almost like an Imoto. Almost like a little
right.
sister.
Well, actually, it feels very much like father and daughter,
right?
Where, like, I care for you. But it doesn't stop you are keeping a high school girl at home who is a runaway, and it's just, I can't get past that for myself.
Which they have him read an article that says local man arrested for kidnapping a high school girl. Like, oh crap. I do like the way that they presented it. He has more than just being sort of empathetic to her situation. Mm-hmm. When he's going to buy her clothes, he is shrewd enough to understand that she has been achieving places to stay and food, etc., by doing things, and that she's now, I hate to say conditioned, but that's her response as you've done X for me and I will do Y.
Yeah.
And he says to her, your job is, I work hard. I'm gone all day. Your job, your Y to my X is you take care of the house, you cook, you clean, you do everything to make sure the place is nice and fine. That's the exchange. It's not going to be
the physical,
It's just going to be you get this lodging for me and food, and you care for the place, and that's the equivalency of exchange. Nothing else. And if you try to do anything else, you try to seduce me again, I will kick you out. And it's like, okay, you've taken an extremely creep-worthy concept, and you've taken he's made a bright line in the first couple of episodes. I've seen through this to episode first couple episodes. How this fleshes out by the time you hit episode 12, is there a romantic love thing? Do they meet 20 years later? And who knows?
Yeah.
So when I was watching this, so the first part where he gets rejected by the girl, and she's just like, I haven't seen this guy for 5 years, so why would I was just kind of like thinking, like, well, she's had a dinner with you. You just paid dinner for her, and whatever. So he gets drunk and he's being loud and irresponsible with his friend in another bar, and he's coming home and he sees her, the teen sitting there, and just as it's described, we go through this. Now, in real life, here's what would have happened. In real life, he would have been like done that. Maybe he's being nice, saying, okay, I'll leave you lodging for the night. As soon as they turned the corner, about 3 big guys would have come out, taking his wallet, taking his roll. He would have gotten rolled.
Yeah.
And so that's
if you report this, we'll tell the cops that you tried to kidnap this girl. Like,
yeah. But as we're going through this through the episode, and he's doing this thing like y'all are pointing out, that he's like saying, no, you're doing this for this. I'm not into you. That doesn't do it for me, and all this. And we get to the end where he goes, I'm not into young bodies like that. I'm but I do find her cute. To me, this whole thing is, I think he's protesting a little too much. This is where the creep factor comes in for me. I think he's just making that line that he doesn't cross, not her, but for himself. And then
he's trying
the
to
line
convince
is
himself of it.
And the line is already eroding itself by the end of the episode. Okay. And I'm just kind of like, and the whole thing, I'm just like, because the whole premise of this is it's a 25 to 30-year-old guy with a 17-year-old. The thing you do, like, at first when I was like, oh wow, this is gonna be a really short anime, because he asked for the ID and he's just like, okay, I'm gonna try contact, and then he says he can't find the parents. I'm like, no, come on, dude, come on. Yeah, no, there's something going on here. I think it just totally.
It reminded me a bit of Bunny Drop. right? Like, two people learning to live together,
Yeah.
right? And what I hope is that this is Bunny Drop the anime and not Bunny Drop the manga,
Yeah.
right?
That would
Like,
not,
let's you know, there's a nice, you know.
But if it went
Mm-hmm.
time skip,
Yeah.
so 5 years in the future. So whatever happens, suppose there's this great, epiphany that she has, and she says, you know what, you're right. I have to go home. She goes home. His life moves on. He, doesn't meet anybody else, whatever.
Yeah.
And then 5 years later, now she's an adult. He's just a little, he's 5 years older. She's 35.
Yeah.
She's 5 years older, and they meet up again. It's like, okay, it's not nearly as creepy as Usagi Drop.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Nearly.
Totally. Yeah.
And that would be sweet, but I have no idea if that's where this is going to go.
Right.
So at the beginning of this.
So John, you just put this into Beautiful Girls territory. You ever seen that movie with Natalie Portman?
No.
Okay. Timothy Hutton, Natalie Portman. Timothy Hutton's in. He comes back home. You're kind of like a high school reunion kind of thing going on. And the new next door neighbor to where his dad and his brother live is this new family and this young girl, Natalie Portman. She's like, this is like right after she did Professional.
Okay.
And
good
for a couple of years.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's how young she is. Throughout the whole movie, there's a relationship that's going on where there's attraction, and Timothy Hutton, his character, is like, this is never going to happen. You're this age, and I'm this age, but darn, you're cool, and I want to kind of look out after you, and that while I'm here, and this, that, and the other thing. But then there's a part in the movie where he says he's talking to his best friend from high school as they're getting drunk. He goes, what if in 6 years she'll be 18 and I'll be in my late 30s, and that'll be okay, right? And you're just like going, you realize that no, still not right. It's still not right.
Yeah.
It's not government like.
Yes. Yeah. It's tough because and one of the reasons is like it's beautifully animated.
Yes.
They do a lovely job with the personalities of the characters. It feels very, not just grounded, but it feels like the characters' reactions are thought through, right? Like, what he does on that night, he's drunk, kind of, he's not quite thinking things through, but he's not doing insanely stupid things, right?
Right.
And so all those pieces, like, okay, I can imagine this happening, right? But just that premise is just so hard to jump over.
Yeah.
So, fair enough. Moving on to something much easier to grasp, much less problematic. I've been killing slimes for 300 years and maxed out my level. Yeah.
So cute.
Yes. So I do appreciate the premise of an office lady who literally dies on the job. And just like, this is literally works yourself to death. And reincarnates in a world. Actually, like reincarnates as an immortal 17-year-old girl.
Yep.
No.
And thanks to card captor Sakura.
Yeah, exactly.
Reincarnating
Yeah.
her.
Ding.
Yeah. Why does God need a magical girl bond?
I'm
I'm
not
not sure.
Oh, what does God need with a starship? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so protagonist decides, okay, I'm just gonna take it easy. I'm gonna do minimal amount of work I need just to keep myself going, just have a nice, easy life. And so she goes out, she kills some slimes just for kind of cash. Does that every day for 300 years because she's immortal.
Roughly 25 slimes a day, 365 days a year, or days a year, and 300 years. Yeah.
Times 4 experience points each, and guess what happens? She ends up at level 99. And so hilarity ensues. Obviously, her reputation starts getting out there, and I thought this would turn into something more like I'm trying to think of it, but a show where it would be her dealing with various problems in her life, people coming in, her kind of rejecting them, you know, all that kind of thing, where it would just be kind of her and bouncing off of various adventures and, you know, evil mages showing up and so forth.
Right.
And then the dragon shows up, which ends kind of predictably. And then the dragon shows up again as red-haired lowly maid, who is now going to live with her and do all of her work for her. And so you're starting to get the sort of female harem coming around her, much like Kuma 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 Bear, which, John, you very accurately pointed at.
And Traveling Witch.
Traveling Witch
has a little orbit of girls as well.
Mm-hmm.
All the way down to the giant hat.
Yeah, giant hat. Like, jeez. But yeah, this very much feels like a light, fun anime to just, you know, not pass the time, but just it's not going to tax you greatly, but it'll make you laugh.
It's visually appealing. It's just a cute premise, and it's kind of nice.
Yeah. So when you're done watching the creepy guy and the 17-year-old girl and mecha, you know, piloted by the unwanted and things like that, and, you know, sports anime that you don't care for, then, you know, this is a very nice
lighten it up with that.
Lighten it up. I think part of what I really liked about it was that it doesn't immediately set off into the adventure. There's not a seriousness about it. There's not, you know, it's very much, and I can totally relate to what she wants, which is leave me the hell alone.
A slow life.
Live a light, slow, lazy life, because I would very much love to live a lazy, slow life right now.
Yeah.
But you know, being able to do that, and then when she levels up, and she's leveled up, right? She's maxed out, so she has all these powers, and she's figuring out that she has these powers. But we don't have to go through the multiple episodes of her trying to figure out how to master each one of them.
Yeah.
You know, so she can just go, oh, I can do this. So if I do this thing, hey, it worked. Great. So it's just fun. Just nice and fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
She better pull something out of the hat, though.
Yeah.
Hey, Rook, want to see me pull a rabbit out of the head?
A show that is not fun in the same way, but really, really interesting, is Joran, the Princess of Snow and Blood.
Yeah.
A show set in an alternate historical Japan, the 64th year of the Meiji era, 1931. So basically, Japan continued with the shogunate. There's no prime minister. The nation of Japan is a world power. There was no World War
One or two.
Yeah, this is before World War II, but there's none of that. And so Japan remains this very traditional country in a lot of ways, while still having a lot of external sort of technology that sort of worked its way into their cars and such.
Yeah, I missed what they called the power source they discovered.
The Dragon Vein is what they call it in the Wikipedia. Yes, this thing, and they have these awesome like suspended cable cars on these giant red things. It's really cool. But let's talk about the art style for a minute.
Love it.
Yeah.
Man.
Love it.
Yeah.
That first segment that you get and in the title sequence, and it's that animation, and I don't know how else to describe it, and it's just when it blurs over the mouth and you see the fangs and things that kind of disappear, and just how the blue contrasts to everything. It's almost like chalk, like really finely done chalk drawing.
Very much so.
It's just so appealing. It just grabs you instantly.
Which I thought it was digitally rendered,
really
because just how just particularly wow, kind of amazing the way it was done.
Yeah.
saturated reds, just the red light district is just like, and it's like I only realized now. It's like, was there daylight in any of that first episode?
Wow, that's an interesting question. I don't remember any.
Snowing.
Yeah.
And we're in the red light district at night.
Yeah.
There was a small slice of daylight when she is in the bookstore.
Okay. Yeah.
And her friend is talking to her, and she's looking through the window. But even then, it's almost like daylight through pre-snow clouds, where it's that filtered light. So everything is just really muted lighting, and yet some of the stuff is so incredibly sharp for that low light level. It's just like, wow.
Yeah. So Captain Laser's Eyes, it's not a vampire show, although there are altered beasts, I think they call them, something along those, like changelings, they call them in the Wikipedia. So there are people who can transform.
Yeah.
But it very much feels like a vampire show. In fact, if you've seen Blood the Last Vampire, that sort of, very desaturated in some cases, oversaturated in others, kind of that sort of visual style, roughly.
Yeah.
It's fascinating visually. They also, I really appreciate it as one of those shows that like there's no exposition. No one sits down and says, as you know, Bob, 48 years ago, it is just characters interacting and talking and explaining. You kind of have to understand.
That is a particularly choice thing they did, because when they meet with their handler, whoever it is, that was the perfect point for exposition. Be like, well, I'm glad I've gathered you here. Yeah. It's like, but no, it's moving along, and you're like, okay, I'm in for the ride, in for penny, in for pound. I guess I see where this goes.
Which allows for a moment like when you first meet Elena and her client.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where it's like, what's going on here?
Yeah. Well, it's just the way that the story just moves without having everything explained. Okay, so you have a narration that tells you when it is, and a little bit about what this really odd thing you saw right before, and then it goes on into the bookstore, and you notice that there's something different, something else going on, and then it goes back to the city, where you see people trying to write graffiti on the wall and getting caught, and then being taken away by the secret police. None of this is actually like explained to you by the narrator or anything like that. It's just done. And then when you get to the point where they go, okay, well, we're going to meet at the place to meet with the guy. You have no idea what that means. You go there, and then you come to find you're in a brothel. And then you see the scene, and you're just like, oh, okay, we went there, and okay, we're having this conversation while the John is right there. And then, she does her thing, no pun intended, trick with the John.
Yeah. Ha-ha.
And then they do this, what I really liked about this is that they talk about the technology, but it's still 1931. So it's still Ford T model cars. It's still, while there's some technological advances, it's clearly for other people. Because when she slides open the secret door, there's no electronic thing. She steps on a pedal to open the door, and then they go down, but then they show it like a little what would be at that time considered to be, really high tech, when they're showing basically slides on the projector. Down there, and they go through the plane. So, but you go through this whole thing, and by the end of it, you get the idea that there is the government, evil government thing. They're doing something, and it has to do with these monsters and her. And then you get another one of those battle scenes that was beautifully rendered. And you're just like, oh my god, wow, is this? And then you get to see the little 5-year-old girl at the end of the episode. With the knife.
We don't know what's going on there.
Unfortunately, I just went on Wikipedia and found out.
We don't know it.
Nothing. I found out why the two are together. And the backstory of that. That's all. There's nothing about her end or anything. But it's a very adult anime. There is adult subject matter, but it is very much aimed at an audience that is not being talked down to.
Yeah, if you're tuning in for Beyblade, this ain't it.
Yeah, exactly. No, anti Beyblade.
I just when I first saw that it was coming this season, I'm like, I love the key image.
Yeah.
I just love the red parasol, just that contrast of it. I just love the look of it. When I watched that first episode, I'm like, holy crap, I can't wait to see more.
Yeah.
This is gonna how is any of this? How are you making an umbrella into a crossbow? This is freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a crossbow that you can reload.
Yeah.
And turn it into a bulletproof shield. I'm like, this is. I'm sure they're not going to probably discuss how that's done at all, but I'm just going to be amazed by it anyway.
Yeah. That's actually a really interesting point, Charming Sketches. And hey, how's it going?
Hey.
Lady Snowblood, you're absolutely right. I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember the plot of this. I don't think I've seen. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It's fantastical. You know, it very much goes in its own direction. But I agree. Moving right along from that comment in chat.
Yeah, that's why I just went, wow.
Moving on to something that, again, you know, we've talked about several cringy shows, and this is going to have to be one of them. Koikimo, a.k.a. It's Disgusting to Call This Love, which actually, yeah. Story of basically an adult man who falls for a teenage girl and won't leave her alone.
It is not protective to her.
No.
Is romantically absolutely smitten.
Mm-hmm.
And it's as creepy as it should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I did not see this one, and you guys did. So as you describe it, you will all see my visage in extreme disgust and horror. So
he keeps sending flowers to her every day. Yeah. And it's like,
despite her repeated protests to stop.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
like bumping into her.
So where was? Okay, so where were the parents?
Her mother thinks it's charming.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, you got another thing from such and such. I don't know that she knows he's, you know, an adult. I think she may just think he's some very thoughtful 17-year-old boy. I don't know. But
Wait till you get to episode 2 if you get that far.
Oh boy. Okay. Yeah, Ginger, this one does seem like it's taking the low road. Like it's very much that.
And it's odd because of the 2 creeper ones, where he is protective of the high school girl, one I find, and it's not that I find more merit, less merit.
Right, yeah.
But I find something that I think could be more hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
This one just feels like an adult psychologically beating down a teenager who is doing the right thing. It's like, no, I'm not cool with this. Go away. You're you're my friend's older brother. This is not cool. And it feels like it's just going to keep going to the point where it's like, oh, I finally convinced her to be in love with me. And it's like, dude, why are you not seeing the problem here?
Yeah. The key image on Wikipedia, which is the image from the first manga volume, is the 2 of them pushed together. He's holding her hand. He's looking down at her. He has love hearts on him. She has a broken heart above hers. He has a hand on her shoulder, and she has a hand on his chin, pushing him away. And it's like, does sum it up, but it's also like, she's no, not cool.
Yeah.
This actually started on Pixiv, of all things.
What?
Yeah, it's uploaded to Pixiv, and they have a whole manga publishing sort of interface on there.
I'm thinking it's just like single keyframe images.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, y'all scrapped this together into a show. Good on y'all.
And so they just kind of did a whole thing, and that was a thing.
Wow.
So yeah, 8 volumes of the manga so far. Anime coming along.
Wow.
And it's just there were indeed funny moments, and it's like you know what I mean? It's like it's one of those things where it's like I shouldn't feel bad laughing at the funny moments, but I feel kind of like I don't know how to be with this because you're like pushing this not cool thing. And I'm like, ha 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 ha. If this was like a friend of mine and this was happening to them, I would be like, 911, 911, help!
Yes,
Somebody
exactly.
help!
Yeah.
This is
You
what
know what I mean?
streaming
So,
are for.
yeah. So I mean, it's just I've now seen through episode 2, and it's, like
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. I'll keep you informed.
Let's move on to a much less complicated show. Much easier show. Let's Make a Mug 2.
Yay,
Yes.
cute.
Which is a cute pottery show. I don't know of any easier way of describing it.
That's all it is. That's all it is. And as I was saying before we get on online here, that it made me understand better why John likes Jerry so much. This is just something that's just easy, relaxing. People are having fun with it. Like in the anime, you're having fun watching it. There's things that are relatable to it. It's just calming, and it's just no high drama or anything.
Cute girls doing cute pottery. Like
exactly. Funny thing is, I just watched an episode of How to Make Everything about pottery. And making pottery on like a pottery wheel and so forth. And so I had just seen an episode, and he actually goes to a professional potter to throw. The idea behind the channel is the guy basically says, what if human civilization hit the reset button, and we went back and we had to rebuild human civilization from fire. And so obviously not practical, but he's basically learning all of those skills. Okay, if we have fire, we can do this. If we have this, we can make that.
Yeah,
if we have that,
building with fire is terrible.
Ow!
Ow!
Fire is pain. Fire is pain.
And so he went to a professional potter on the pottery wheel he made to kind of try to make pottery. So I just seen like high definition video of a professional potter making pottery, and went into this, and I was like, yeah, that's it. Like they really made it look right. It feels like actual pottery being made. They've got all of the motions and so forth down. So I was like, good job.
Which, as a sponsored product of the pottery JCs, it's spot on as it has to be.
Yeah.
Which I like these. I liked Hakone-chan when it was the 7 hot springs of Hakone, and they did the anime that just featured each one of the hot springs as a different sort of like hot spring kami. That was just cute, and all it did was it basically just advertised, oh hey, there's this town and it has 7 hot springs, go visit.
And
it's like short episodes just like Mug, and all you got was just like, oh, that's kind of cool. Oh, look, there's in the middle of the town there's like a place for foot bath. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. So this Mug thing, it's like, oh, there are places in Japan that have that's their pottery thing. That's the thing they're famous for. And here we are. And it's like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Exactly.
Thing about pottery.
Also, if you like energetic girls, watch out for Mika.
Oh yeah.
In this show, the blonde girl. Oh boy. And yeah, it's great having an anime series that's sort of around, like you're saying in the chat, these sort of education, hobby-oriented shows, because you learn something too. That's cool.
And you end up, I have no doubt that some people who are like very enthusiastic about what they see, there will be a spike in web searches for Japanese pottery. And any of these sponsors, the JCs that are putting in for this series, if they have like a web presence where they can get international orders, they're going to get business. So
and you have a spare basement, spare garage, have a pottery wheel. Great hobby during Corona. There we go. All right, moving from an uncomplicated series to the exact opposite. We gotta talk about Odd Taxi. Oh my gosh! Wow! Oh!
Love it.
If it hadn't been Steve, really pumping it up, I honestly really didn't have too much in the way of expectations of this, and just holy crap, it blew my mind. I'm like, wow, I didn't ask for this, but I didn't know I needed it. You know, like, damn.
Oh, jeez.
So if you know nothing about it and you just see the visual, it's still not enough.
Yeah. No. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You have to watch
it.
So you have to watch it.
I will not spoil anything. I will say that it has a visually very cartoony style.
Yeah.
So think almost like Dexter's Lab, Cartoon Network kind of a thing. But it is also oh hey John. It is also very seriously paced, very quietly paced.
Yes.
We mentioned Taxi Driver before. In terms of kind of that tone of a slow, quiet build kind of a story, where you're just kind of seeing people interacting and so forth. And it's set in an entire world of furries, anthro, kind of B-stars kind of a thing. All 2D.
Right.
Well, how about the intro part? The intro was like incredibly interesting visually.
Yeah.
And it was nothing related to the actual show. And it's like it was like the best twofer because you're like, what is this incredible intro? And then you get into the actual show and you're like, oh crap, this is awesome too. Like this is wow.
And for y'all in Chatland who haven't seen it yet, the reason why we're having difficulty talking around it is because we kind of don't know where the spoilers are. We honestly don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
So we might say something that it might be a big ass spoiler, be an idea of what kind of show this is like. Think of all the interesting serial killer dramas, the police, the good, I should say, police like Luther or something, or Denmark or Norway. They tend to be better than American stuff. Right. And it's just a slow burn from the beginning to the end of the episode, and you're just following this one particular character, and you're being introduced to these other characters, and you realize how interconnected everyone is, even though they don't know it.
Yeah.
And then, like that first visual after the credits, you're like, and then at the very end, you go,
like, oh. Now, Wesley mentions Taxi Cab Confession.
Yeah.
Is that the name of the movie I was trying to come up with?
Yeah.
Where it's all the sort of interconnected characters as well, is it a true life series, or is it, because I thought there was one where it was somewhat similar to this, where you have a taxi and the sort of people that are in the taxi form the basis of the story, and that their connections are somehow in there, much like the way that Odd Taxi has done this.
So Taxi Cab
Confession. Well, the HBO thing is.
Yeah, it's the HBO series. Yeah. It's just hidden cameras in taxis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah,
It's not nothing.
Yeah.
But there's a mystery element. There is, like, as I was saying before, if you are into anime that are kind of like Death Note, but it doesn't have any of the mystical writing off the names, but it has that kind of tension and kind of that noir drama behind it.
Yeah.
If you like detective stories, if you like noir detective stories, this is right up your alley.
Absolutely.
Because this is going to be it's going to have to be sit there and watch it and try and work out the threads.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of material delivered in just this first episode. It's like, how is this going to play out? Where's that going to lead me? Ooh.
I'm going to throw out a name, Satoshi Kon. It doesn't have the weird what is real and what is not.
Yeah.
It has that all of these things are going on, and you've got to pay attention to all the plot threads to see who's this person's related to that.
Yeah, because we have no backstory on any of these people. We're in the middle of whatever is happening in their lives and in this universe. And it's just like,
and it presents, visually, it looks like a kid's show. Like if you see screenshots, you'll think, oh, it's it's just some weird, goofy,
cute little kid show
cab thing, right? And maybe it has like a noir filter on it, kind of. But
no.
And,
you will not be disappointed.
Yeah, there were 3 moments in this where all of us watching were like, oh. Yeah. Oh, that changes everything. Like, so, yeah.
It was a collective, huh? It was very cool. It was very cool.
Very, very cool. Let's move on to Osamake, aka I Got Rejected, a romantic comedy with a childhood friend absolutely will not lose. Another one with a problematic premise this season, I will admit. So, young man gets rejected by a girl he's loved for a long time, and thus conspires with a girl who's in love with him, but he is not in love with, to undermine the girl is in love with's relationship.
Yeah.
So to get back at her, he's going to kind of destroy her relationship with the guy she's now dating.
And that he is ostensibly at the beginning never met.
Right.
And has no grudge against.
Mm-hmm.
So.
It's...
I'm glad I didn't watch this one.
It is played for comedy a lot of the time, but there is very much a serious undercurrent... Not serious, but an undercurrent of, let's do this. Yeah, let's move forward with it. I do think the show makes it fairly clear that this is a bad idea. In context, a lot of things are like, this is not going to go well, but it's like, I don't know if I want to watch somebody screw themselves over this much, or screw other people over like this.
Well, again, it's like I felt like it was Mase Munekun's revenge mixed with Orisuke, where you've got each girl has her emblematic hairpiece, so you can identify who the girls are by their hairpieces, and that this concept of revenge in any of them never really works out very well, and it's just I wanted more out of this series. First episode in, I'm not impressed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's okay. It's just not really all that super crazy. I'm like chomping at the bit to see more of it.
Yeah. Characters are cute.
I hate.
Characters are cute. There's some fun interactions. Again, if you kind of take the premise as it is and then just let the episode ride, you can kind of enjoy the interaction of the characters and all that kind of stuff. But yes, we're kind of one of those. I don't enjoy supporting this kind of a show.
Well, just from the Mase Munekin revenge one, you do find out why he wants revenge, and it's like this one. They've alluded to, like, they talked over like summer, I think it was pointed out when we were all talking. So he's had some kind of more conversation with his love interest, but it's not. None of it is entirely clear as to what exactly occurred that makes him be like this driven to get revenge, to ruin some other guy's experience, to ruin this girl's experience. What terrible thing happened? So this is another one. I'm going to take that bullet. I want to see, do we ever get like a full-on flashback that it's like, oh, okay, I understand. She's like, turns out she's really, really a cruel, terrible person, and there's a reason why your best friend never liked her. You know what I mean? I want something out of that.
Yeah.
Because this so far one episode.
Moving on to something that actually surprised me quite a bit. The Saint's magic power is omnipotent.
Oh yeah.
Because office lady going about her day. Ends up getting transported to a magical world as the holy saint of power, along with another girl, another Japanese girl.
Yeah.
And the other girl is the one who's kind of chosen to be the powerful saint, while the
younger, cuter.
Yes.
That's funny. I had not thought about that.
Yeah. The prince just waltzes in. and says, "Oh, you must be the saint," and kind of ignores the slightly older, bespectacled girl.
Yeah, takes the high school girl and doesn't take the professional office lady.
Yeah.
Ah.
And like that clearly kind of, and it's actually kind of sad because it clearly she realizes that. She's clearly annoyed by it, but she is also clearly like kind of used to it. Right? Like she's like, well, there we go again. There we go.
She's definitely adult about it as well.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? It's like she's, and what's her primary concern? Okay, that's fine. How are you sending me back?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like, okay.
Yeah.
Could have cried and wailed about it, but no.
Yeah, no, absolutely. She's very, very grown up about it. No Truck-kun, just a just spell appears.
Yeah.
And so she just starts spending time just sort of wandering around kind of the palace. She's not allowed to like really go out because like you are a very important person and you'd be mobbed and so forth. And she ends up in essentially like the alchemist's academy, where she starts making potions. And the hint is that the story is, or my assumption is that as the all-powerful saint person, she can make very powerful potions. And so she's going to be able to solve the crisis sort of medicinally, as opposed to going out and casting spells in combat and so forth.
Which, I mean, they've even touched on that. It's like not only is she good at potion making, but you're also getting that sense of like she doesn't know how much magic power she has. She's doing potions right now, but you know what I mean? It's like episode 1, potions. Yeah. Episode 2, potions, and hey, let me drop a mountain on you. You know what I mean? Could go there. I think I'll send myself back home again. Boing! There you go. You know?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So one of the things that I enjoyed about this particular anime was the fact that, you know, definitely was at first I was kind of like, you know, I don't mind isekais, but you know, every now and again you're just kind of like, oh, okay, it's another isekai.
Yeah,
go through it. You know, but it's as if they understood the trope, you know, and so the two girls, the women show up. Well, actually, a girl and a woman. They show up, and you know, like you said, John, she takes the adult option and says, okay, well, you got your saint, so what about me? What you know, how are we going to deal with me? How we're going to go with that? And it's practical.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's very practical. It's very, you know, okay, well, we're going to put you up here for the time being. And then she finds out that she's into botany from, you know, her previous life. And so she's coming across this kind of stuff and she's interested, and they're just like, hey, okay, well, this is great. This is great. You can help us make these wonderful potions and you should have some magical power. So, you know, whatever. And then we discover that she's actually pretty powerful to a certain point. And so it's just, and instead of taking this dramatic turn to how will I ever get through the whatever, it's more along the lines of like, hey, I'm doing something useful. I like this. I'm okay with this. I live here now. It's a little bit awkward, but you know, I'm living at the institute now and I'm doing these things. And isn't this is actually kind of cool. And then you have the moment at the end of the anime where people are hurt, like legit hurt. And she comes in and it's her moment to shine with the potion that is, you know, they come to figure out how powerful she is.
Yeah.
And then you get that one little conversation at the end between the guy who's the head of the institute and the person, I guess, who's in charge of security of the castle. Yeah. I don't know who the guy is. And they're saying, well, yeah, she's coming along nicely. By the way, has anyone seen the girl?
Yeah.
The girl that the prince just kind of grabbed and said, hey, yeah, you know, and everyone was just like, yeah, where is she? No one's seen her. So.
Yeah.
Well, you know, when you go into battle, things do happen.
Yeah.
And I imagine an untrained saint character, unless you've got 6 months to like however long, train them on effective combat, attack, defense, healing, blah blah blah. You're gonna die like a terrible, terrible death if you're thrown into the middle of the battlefield. Heal people. Heal with what? Avoid that arrow. Avoid the arrow. Oh.
Message for you, sir. This may just be my dirty mind, but I suspect she's being trained.
Yes.
By the prince. Yeah.
Yeah.
Offering healing services of a special nature.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
That's one of the interesting things, Wesley, is that like she says, "Okay, how are you gonna send me back?" And they all kind of look at her like, and they don't say anything, but the clear intent is like, "There's no go home spell."
Yeah, this is the one-way trip.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm. So who knows?
But if Dog Days has taught us nothing besides the fact that cute puppy girls are cute puppy girls,
True.
it's that you just have to believe enough in the power of friendship. No, but yes, enough.
Click your heels
It'll
together.
go home. Exactly.
Okay.
There's no place like Tokyo. There's no place like Tokyo. I love how biased this is too. Why all the saints have to come from Japan? Not have gotten somebody from like Australia, Madagascar.
I just thought Detroit.
Yeah.
Detroit.
Well, Digimon Season 2 actually deals with this. Not in Isekai series, but like Digimon Season 2, they start meeting up with other Digidestined kids who have been changed, and they're from like Russia and England and Sao Paulo, and it's like, well, of course, they're not all from Japan.
There is the rest of the world. Oh yeah.
Which becomes a problem because they show up and it's like, hello, and it's like konnichiwa. See.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, right. There's a language barrier. That's a thing.
Dobre den. What'd they say?
Yeah. Oh dear. Is there any sword and sorcery anime as good as Record of Lodoss War? I don't know what good means, particularly with regard to Lodoss War, because people have some very strong opinions about how good Lodoss War is. So I
Does
don't
good
know.
mean animation quality, story quality, story continuity?
Yeah, because the animation quality in Lodoss varies dramatically. There's some great scenes and some which like
right.
But gosh, I'm actually trying to think of some really good like D&D-esque fantasy series.
Which Dragon House Hunter did have an
yeah,
awful lot of D&D great characters and D&D great like facial expressions.
I really like Grimgar Fantasy and Ash, which is right back there. Which is not quite isekai. I mean, it is implied isekai. These characters just show up in this world. They're like teleported in, but there's no going back. They have no memories. They just are in this world now, and it's gonna fight that stuff. Grimoire Fantasy Ash. I've not seen 12 Kingdoms, but I've heard people recommend that as well. Escaflowne, yeah, great call.
Yeah.
Escaflowne, definitely. Giant robots too, which what show is not improved by giant robots? Let's be honest.
Which every time I kept seeing that Escaflowne was coming on like Adult Swim or Toonami, there was an ad for a long time for Escaflowne, which was like a nasal decongestant. So every time I saw the ad, I'm like, that is too damn funny. Which one came first, the nasal decongestant medicine or the show? Yeah, like, wow, when I'm feeling kind of down and stuffy, I watch Escaflowne.
Escaflowne.
Oh, now I feel better. Like, oi.
Yeah. So yes, I'm strong. You can also watch the other shows set in the Lodoss universe. There's Legend of Crystania and Rune Soldier Louis, which are all actually set in that universe. So very different, though. I mean, Rune Soldier Louis is a comedy.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, totally. Speaking of fantasy, let's move on to a modern supernatural fantasy, Shaman King 2021.
Yep.
Which really excited me. It's Netflix only, and still relegated to Japan for now, but it is available and through various means. I was excited by this because I read a good chunk of the manga. I watched some of the original anime, which is back in I think 2000. Year 2000-ish?
I thought it was 2001.
2001.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, I was looking that up on Mal.
Okay, yeah, okay,
Oh.
2001. And I was very curious to see how much of the story they would adapt in that first episode, like how far they'd get in. Man, they get through a lot. They also opened with a pretty dang dark sequence. That opening scene of Shaman King 2021
Yeah.
is really serious. It shows a birth occurring. The birth of a very important character for those of you who are familiar with Shaman King. And that whole thing, and bad things happen during that birth. It's really interesting. And then you get the rest of it. I'll be honest, the trailers for this had me a little worried, but the episode really succeeded in what I was hoping it would do. It covers a lot of ground, introduced to the initial characters well. They don't try to cram every single character in there. They definitely do justice to those Hiroyuki Takei character designs, which are very much 90s distinctive urban character designs.
Definitely Kitaro is his little friend.
Yeah, Kitaro is his friend. Just very visually distinctive. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a good mix of things. Most of the original cast is back. So if you've seen any of the original series in the Japanese dub, it's most of the same actors, which is cool. Megumi Hayashibaru is also doing the opening credit sequence, so that's all cool. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. John, what did you think? Because I know you haven't, you're not a huge Shaman King fan.
Yeah, not a Shaman King fan, but I enjoyed what got me was him sitting in the graveyard, and then everybody in the graveyard with him. So it's like the Kitaro character. I'm like, the dude's like a foot tall. I'm like, I get the point that you're trying to make with this and the character designs, and they're wacky in some elements, but I really liked him coming in and seeing, this whole graveyard scene.
Yeah.
And here you have our main character talking to people, and there's nobody around. And then you see what's going on, and it's like, okay, I kind of, this is kind of neat. I enjoy the idea, the people who have spirit vision can see things that others can't, and how they interact with that. And I liked the way that this episode went, dealing with the sword maker and dealing with the samurai. And I'm like, okay, wow, we're gonna see how far shonen it's gonna go, and like how much fighty of the week it's gonna be. But
just wait.
I liked at least where this episode went, that I'd be like, I could dig that.
Yeah. So as far as I know, the original Shaman King anime was reasonably accurate to the manga. They just ran out of manga. The manga was very much ongoing.
Oh.
And so they stopped the anime at some point. We're like, well, we can't really get to the ending yet because that's a whole thing that's being worked on. And the anime just, unfortunately at the time, just couldn't compete with the other big franchises.
Right.
So it just kind of petered out. But it has a very firm following. So fingers crossed. But yeah, I think it was really cool. For those familiar with it, it goes through introduction of Yo, introduction of Amidamaru and his friend, and the initial fight with Wooden Sword Ryu. So he defeats Wooden Sword Ryu at the end of this episode, basically. And
using just a grave placard.
Yeah. Really cool final sequence there. I mentioned this before. One of the things I really like about Shaman King is that it is an ultimately redemptive anime. Yo believes that every shaman has good in them, and so every antagonist he fights, he ultimately believes in and is trying to make a good person. You're trying to turn to his side, basically, turn away from evil and so forth. And so I'm hopeful to see where that goes, because that's one of the things that colors the fights in a way that makes them entertaining, where it's not just wait until the hero, pulls the thing out of their rear end that allows them to beat the bad guy in the fight.
Right.
You have that sort of moral element to the fight of, okay, given all the terrible things this person is doing, how are we going to have that redemptive arc? So we'll see. But yeah, that's Shaman King 2021, hopefully eventually coming with an English sub over on Netflix. Another one I enjoyed a lot. I know, John, you enjoyed a lot. Super Cub.
You get to watch it.
A.K.A. Honda, the animated commercial.
Yep.
Or Yuru Cub.
Yep, I loved that. That was an awesome one. I loved it.
So again, let's talk. This is a very interesting structure for an episode.
Yeah.
Where you have just this high school girl. She's apparently an orphan. She lives alone. Like she says, I don't have any parents. And she's kind of going back and forth to school, and she's obviously a little depressed. Like she's not like unhappy with her life, but like it's a very plain existence.
Yeah.
And then she goes to decides to buy a Honda Super Cub, scooter basically. The one that kills people apparently.
Which I just so want to know. The tipping moment is her seeing basically that Vespa parked in the bicycle shed.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm hoping we're going to get more fleshing out of her backstory, where we find out, did that have a particular meaning? Because she had to go on her bike, not just, immediately next door to the school. She had to go find the place to find the murder bike.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So there's a moment of reason there that I really desperately want to know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like that drove her from same wake up time, same routine, same lunch, same this, same that, to break the routine.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. And I loved that, I pointed out, I loved the way that the anime goes from this like super detailed mechanics of bikes and the Super Cub and machinery to this really interesting person character drawing style. And it's like, it was just visually very interesting to follow. Like,
it's a slightly sketchy and it's slightly sketch style animation style, which is really, it works very well. It's just very distinctive.
Yeah. Well, I would have expected the animation, that sketchy look, to have been dropped because of the clean lines and the hard details of all the mechanicals. But you have like this 3-part thing where you've got all the backgrounds are wonderful, but they're not exactly 100% sharp. Then you have the mechanicals, which are like razor sharp.
Yeah.
And then you have the actual characters that are this interesting sketch. And it's just like, wow, you guys made some really incredibly visually interesting choices.
I can't believe I missed watching this. But you did give me, I think, a name for the next punk band I may be in.
Which is?
Murder Bike?
Murder Bike.
That's it. Yeah, there we
Murder
go.
Bike.
And for those curious, basically, the reason she's able to get the bike cheap is that several of its previous owners have died. So it's like, people are like, no one wants to buy it.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's unsafe or anything. It's just unlucky.
Yeah, I mean, it's beautifully maintained.
Speaking of beauty, let's talk about those Snow White notes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
So this is based on a manga. It is about a young man who plays the shamisen. A very, very angsty young man, I must say.
Yeah.
Very.
And who travels from the middle of nowhere to Tokyo to kind of find his musical voice. And episode 1...
He's going to find his sound.
Yes.
In an angsty way.
Episode 1 deals with some drama around a young woman he meets and her situation in life and so forth. And you get at the very beginning and basically at the end, a little bit in the middle, but also very, very much at the very end, you get some stunning shamisen music.
Yeah.
If you don't like traditional Japanese music, this is the kind of thing that will change your mind. This is the kind of thing where you're like, oh, I get it now. Like, even if I don't love it, I see where it's coming from. And it's about playing this traditional Japanese instrument that is very distinctive, very different.
It was, so I enjoyed, speaking as a person who does enjoy that music.
Yeah.
If you are a fan of the Yoshida brothers, you're definitely going to like this. They're brothers that played everybody doing kind of this shamisen. One of the things I really liked about this particular anime was from beginning up until the very, 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 very end, which kind of ended on a weird discordant note, no pun intended. But
you leave Umiko out of this.
Was that I was glad that they decided, at least as far as I know, that they decided to make certain characters permanent and other characters not, and they don't kind of it's revealed in a natural way towards the end of the anime.
Yeah.
And when they play the music, it's almost solely the music. You really don't get a whole lot of narration behind it, so you can actually concentrate when he plays in the club, and everyone's just like, because you'll be watching the screen, you'll be like going, "Oh my god," because it's so good. But it's just I like how this is wrapping itself into something else. So it's like it's almost as if I could tell that they were getting through the drama to get the drama out of the way almost,
right?
So that we can go on to the more important things of how is the music going to progress, and that's the key part of this. What I think it is about the series is how is his music going to improve as it goes on.
Totally.
Well, episode 2, he loses both of his arms, so it's really not about
darn it.
Darn it.
And the aliens invade.
Exactly. The world comes to an end. It's a kaiju fight. It's actually a hidden kaiju series.
Oh,
the shamisen was a total red herring.
Clever.
Watching this, the intro to it, I was like, okay, this is reminding me of the series I watched about the Koto group and, their school club and them like getting better at playing the Koto and how beautiful the music was. And so the intro to this, I'm like, okay, I'm liking this. I'm watching along. They get to the club scene. I'm like, I'm sold. I was sold at the beginning, but now I'm absolutely sold. The music, if I would quibble about anything, is like I think if you're watching his hand movements on the neck, it's not entirely keyed to his playing. But when they zoom in, they've done the work to get the fingers right. But when you see him up on the stage,
there are 1 or 2 shots where it's
like when he's on stage, you can just see his hands kind of moving. It's not you can't discern any kind of like good chord hitting. But when they zoom in down on it, that's where they put the money in getting his finger movements right. But it's just even for an angsty character, and this his I guess it's like coming of age. His finding his
definitely
is his coming of age. It's a really interesting way that he gets to Tokyo and this experience that he has in Tokyo and how these different people start clicking in. It's like I want to know. I want to know how this works out. I want to know how, being at a punk club and getting exposure from people web streaming. I want to know how this keeps going. It's like, what does this mean? Obviously, somebody shows up at the end of the first, episode that it's like, he didn't get found because he said something. He got found because it had to have been web presence. There had to be people talking.
Right.
I've seen the second episode, and I'm absolutely hooked. So I'm
glad you said that. I'm very glad you said that, because the end of the episode, I was totally like, what the hell is that? Why is there? Flashbangs and a SWAT team and this crazy dominatrix looking lady going on. I mean, what?
It's quite amusing and interesting to see who she is.
Okay,
it's like interesting, and that makes that you'll then go back to that first episode and be like, okay, total sense. Yeah, I got you.
Okay, gotcha.
It's like it's good.
I was a little worried there.
Yeah,
so good.
I also appreciate.
Yeah, I thought it was like a web-based attack. Like somebody saw him like streamed. It was like, I need to take him for my collection. Like, oh god, no.
I also appreciate that he deals with his angst in episode 1. Like obviously he's still gonna be some kind of angsty teen, but he resolves that fundamental problem he's having not resolved, but he addresses it by the end of episode 1. So you're like, okay, he now is going to be growing from this point. He's not going to be stuck for the next 11 episodes. Thank you.
And that's where in 2, you know, more of this clicks in, and you're seeing him taking more. I wouldn't say necessarily more effective steps, but kind of like more baby steps.
Okay.
Because he's so angsty, he's trying to, you know, tough it out, figure it out for himself. It's like, okay, yeah, we got you.
And we have another character that just tried to tough it out this season. Let's move on to Your Eternity. Which is, this the manga of this was the follow-up to A Silent Voice. So the manga author of A Silent Voice, this is her next work. It's been going for a while now. It's...
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
I mean,
but it's an emotional bruiser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's heavy.
I mean, quite literally, not a lot happens.
Right? Absolutely.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
There's not like some, you know, great cataclysmic something or other. No, it's actually just the character development experience basically in isolation.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wow.
Yeah.
And then the things that it does with that. And it's just like, wow.
Yeah. It really, and obviously we're not going to tell you what happens because that's kind of part of the. This is very much one of those anime series where it's like, just start watching it. You'll very much strongly get an understanding of what it is, but it's strong, or it's serious. And what I appreciate about it is how it lets the audience understand the emotional weight of what's happening to the character, what's going on, the consequences of what the character is doing, and the fact that there's stuff going on behind the surface that the character isn't saying, because the character wouldn't say that. And so you understand through actions and through other things going on that, oh, right, that, yeah, oh, you know, that kind of stuff.
So when I first started watching this for the season, and I was watching myself in the first like 30 seconds going, oh God, it's the egg. Oshi's egg.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Where it's
Angel's egg. Here we go.
You know, it's just like, you know, and it's just, you're just kind of, and you say, it's this experience, anime, where you just kind of watch it and it unfolds for you, and then after a while you realize that you're like,
yeah,
and you don't want to, you know, miss anything, even though it doesn't seem like anything's happening, but it all builds on itself, and there's things, and you can forecast what's going to happen. I mean, that's, you know, we don't want to give any spoilers away, but you're going to be able to forecast, oh crap, okay, here we go, you know, but getting from that point to where you know you're going to be, and then the next step that happens after that, you're just like, ugh.
It's one of the things I really appreciate about it is precisely that you realize what's going to happen, and you're like, oh, they're going to go, and like, yeah, like those are the consequences of those actions. You know, and it builds on. You're like, oh, that's, you know, and it allows you as a viewer to put the pieces together, you know, ahead of things, and then see that actually occur without them trying to pull the rug out under you for drama, you know, just to surprise you. No, like this is what happens. But yeah, that's how it works. And yeah, the story, the evolution of the story is really interesting. From where it goes from here, it does continue on. Like definitely, there's more evolution. To give you an idea,
literally, this is the start of the journey.
Yeah,
like a lot happened.
Literally,
but this is only the start.
Yeah, and this is volume 1 of the manga. Like this is where the first volume ends. So it's kind of interesting that they've kind of condensed that into this episode, which is completely appropriate. Like that is how to.
It's one of the things that this anime does very well is that you become invested very quickly with everything and everyone that's going on around, with in connection with each other, and you become very invested in what's going on, and it's just okay, this is happening. Okay, this is happening. Oh dear God.
Yeah.
And this is happening, and then you're going, okay, then this, if this and this happened, then you go on. But it's then you realize that the first episode is merely a prelude.
Yeah.
To everything else that's going to happen in the rest of this anime. This is just the one little part that says, here's the setup, go.
And what I love is, without getting into spoilers, this is a moral, emotional setup. It's establishing the values this character has moving forward. So you understand, okay, he's experienced these things. Now, he can move on to the next step. Yeah. Oh, this is good. You're not going to laugh much during this episode. No.
Yeah.
It's not a laugh riot. No.
And I think that's where the hardest part for me is going to be.
Yeah.
Is Silent Voice was just emotionally rending.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this, I'm not that I think it's necessarily has to go that way, but I am definitely going to have to dial into this at a point where I'm good. I'm at a good spot where if this does those kinds of like real soul searching moments, that I'm not just going to be like, okay, I'm going to pause this and I'm going to go cry outside for a half an hour and then come back in.
Yep.
Like,
when Shoya opens the door to their apartment and looks through to the balcony, moments like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is why, folks, that you have to parse your anime, so that when you watch something like this, you have slimes to go to. Something silly, making pottery. That's why you need those.
Yeah.
Yes. Balance.
Yeah.
Everything works.
It was foretold that he would bring balance to the force.
Ah, yes. Which he did, but that's a whole nother story to talk about. That is it for
that happened in a galaxy far.
It's true. And a long time ago. It was a long time ago.
That's true.
This has been the Spring 2021 anime preview. Thank you all for joining us for this. And now we're going to move away. We're going to take a quick pause and come back with some anime news in a few minutes. We will be right back.
Wait.
And we're back. Hello, everyone.
Konnichiwa again.
Yeah. We're just spent
Konbanwa.
about 2 hours talking about the latest anime. That'll be going up on the stream soon. That should be fun. The new season is quite something.
Where was it?
There's a lot to talk about. And we talked. So that was cool. Really enjoyed that. How y'all doing? How's your week been? What you been watching? Other than new anime?
Anime film.
Funny you should ask. No. I got my second COVID shot yesterday, so
Hey!
I'm
I got mine
Pfizered
coming
up.
Thursday. So
That's good.
Awesome. We'll all be vaccinated.
we can all
but-
get into Japan.
Mm.
Come on, please.
Please let us in. We'll be knocking on the. We'll be on the raft, like right on at the beach, going, please, we're vaccinated. I swear, I got the little card. Well, on top of the anime, Brent was so nice enough to send me a link to a GI Joe show that I haven't seen in probably 25, 30 years.
It's been a while.
Oh, it's been a while. And it was just as much fun then now as it was then. So thank you, Brian.
You're welcome. Bow to Cobra. Bow.
Oh,
Cobra.
This was one of the episodes that caused great controversy back in the day. They caused a lot of concern from parents over the it's after 10 over the homoerotic undertones, sadomasochistic homoerotic undertones of the episodes. Yes, there's some moments in these episodes, which so Duke gets captured by Cobra, and sent into these slave pens where he is collared, and then they use a little joystick, a little Atari joystick, to control his movements, and they force him to bow down in front of Cobra Commander and Destro, and then an oiled, shirtless man comes out to do gladiatorial combat, and folks are like, ooh, our children are being exposed to gay porn, clearly, through this action cartoon. It's like, all right.
Wow.
because nothing screams homoerotica like GI Joe.
G.I. Joe.
Yeah. Joe and Atari joysticks. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And like when I say Atari joystick, like it's literally like it barely moves. You know, like the old joystick.
Yeah.
Okay. 2 buttons, and you can entirely control a gladiatorial, fight that way. It's great.
Hey, they obviously took some lessons from Gigantor.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
The whole all you need to control the giant robot is 2 buttons and a joystick. That's it. That does arms and legs and fighting and mobile. No. In addition to trying to make sure I was, so I could get the dogs walked and get in on the watch party today. I watched a lot of anime first seasons, and I also tuned into Vlad Love.
Oh, okay. I've heard of that.
Which Mamoru
What do you think of
Oshii
that?
ring a bell to you?
Oh, that's the new the new Mamoru Oshii comedy show.
Yeah.
What is it? How is it?
It's
Oshii, isn't it?
yes. It's interesting.
How Yatsure is it? Does it have any of that at all, do you feel?
Does gratuitous boober? It's after 10, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Gratuitous boobery and ridiculously scantily clad for no reason. Does
Okay.
that
All right.
ring any bells by any slim chance?
Sure.
Art style, just the general show. It's ridiculous. It's interesting. I don't know where it's really going to have any particular merit message or anything otherwise. Blood obsessed girl meets a vampire, and I mean blood obsessed as in she's a member of the blood donation fan club.
Wow.
Oh my god.
Wow. Okay.
And of course the school nurse, who's very concerned about her, happens to really enjoy researching blood types. So she likes collecting blood.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Rosario Vampire again. Gosh.
Uh-huh. And blood collecting fan girl is not allowed to give enough blood because she's young.
Okay,
But of course, school nurse helps her out. And this is all to help out vampire girl who showed up, that blood fanatic girl is in love.
Mm-hmm.
It's Oshi.
It's anime.
Yeah. Let's just put it this way. I'll watch probably a little bit more of it, and I'm really probably going to get exactly what I feel right now out of it. So, until we're doing some kind of retrospective on Oshi stuff that we need to see that, I'll go back to it. I'll revisit it. But it's interesting. I saw the name in the credits, and I'm like, oh, let's try this. And I'm like, oh, jeez.
And to be clear, like the official website, vladlove.com/en, the title, that comes up on Google is Vladlove Pipe Mamoru Oshii Executive Director Screenplay. Like, they're making it very clear. Like, this is why people are watching this.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So interesting. I'm now another Oshii work. Yay for me.
Yeah.
And then just work like general. When I'm not watching anime, I'm working.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I
dog
hear
walk.
that. I hear that.
My little girl turned 15 years old.
Oh,
wow.
Nice.
Many long years ago, Mama Dog was born, and still going strong.
Good for her.
Hopefully another 15 years.
Definitely, yes.
Yes.
Not been watching much this week. I've been doing some 3D printing. Think of getting back into the resin printing sometime soon. Been getting rid of some stuff. There's a series of Facebook groups called Buy Nothing, the Buy Nothing groups. So you'll find a Buy Nothing, Chicago neighborhood, Buy Nothing, whatever. And the idea is it's a place to offer and trade things. So you just say, hey, I have this thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's not so much, actually, it's not so much swap. You just say, hey, I have a thing. Who wants it? Or, hey, I need toddler clothes or whatever. And folks will just show up and, or not show up, but say, hey, yeah, I've got, toddler jumpers, whatever, here.
200 pounds of gold.
Right, yeah. And so just a lot of little things, umbrellas and spare flashlights and things like that. It's like, oh, somebody can use this. And ended up contacting somebody who was taking some... I did that thing a little while back where I needed some insect repellent, so I bought a bottle. And then the next week I was in the grocery store and think, you know what I need? Insect repellent. I bought another bottle.
That's like me with Rush albums. I'm just
okay.
I need a cop. I need moving pictures. I don't have moving pictures, and I get home and I'm like, oh, I got like 5 of them.
You're supporting the band, Steve.
Yeah.
And so I posted that and eventually gave the person my address. And they're like, oh, I'm in the next building over.
What? Awesome.
So they came down to pick it up, and husband and wife with their Australian Shepherd.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It's a very friendly dog, just come up and and he jumps up a little bit, and just very, very, very friendly. So like, oh, this is nice, pet the dog a little bit, and here's your repellent, and then met some neighbors. It's like, hey,
I was gonna say, what a way to meet the neighbors.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool.
Cool.
Other than that, a bit of some writing, so doing some more work on the novel.
Okay, good.
And then a little bit of drawing, just getting some practice with lines. So just
Illustrating the novel.
someday, hopefully, I wouldn't mind doing that, but not yet.
You have to get your key art ready, and
Right. Speaking of, I've also been working on the animation. That's a whole other thing. Yes, but not ready to announce anything detailed yet, but might have some progress on that in the future.
You haven't finished the rigging yet for the tentacle?
Yeah.
I mean, forget that.
Yeah. Actually, Charming Sketches, ironically, the novel that I am working on is going to be basically a light novel. It is basically that length. It is kind of in that tone as well. It's just it needs some work. The ending I'm very unhappy with, because it ended up getting way too big and complicated. And so I need to rewrite the ending, which means I need to rewrite how I get to that ending.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of that kind of stuff. Thank you, Charmy. I will keep that in mind. So
just
when can we
third
expect
impact it and make humanity extinct, and you're fine.
Yeah, there you go. Let's slow clapping.
Yeah.
So when do we get to expect it on Kindle or?
Yes. Well,
yeah.
Someday.
Someday.
We'll see.
And you're going to send it to Bandai Visual.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Let's see. Joe Annie.
This is actually a question I have. Are there English light novel websites?
There is one.
Okay.
Oh.
And they do 2 titles a year.
Gotcha.
Wow.
So that's the thing.
And, yeah.
Like, I know in Japan there are several like big websites like fanfiction.net,
Mm-hmm.
right, where you just go and you post your things
Right.
and you go and do that. And there are just like that for light novels in Japan, but there doesn't seem to be anything equivalent to that where anyone can upload their own light novel.
Well, you can upload your light novels onto things like Kindle or Amazon and stuff like that to sell. But in terms of actual like someone else publishing, Penguin House or something like that.
Well, I don't even mean that. Yeah, I just mean like an online website. Just a website.
Not really.
Which again I know is a thing in Japan where you just go like a lot of the big light novel series started on these light novel websites. Folks just uploaded onto those things. So I'll look on that.
You could tweet it 140 characters at a time.
Yeah, exactly. That's a thing that a lot of folks have done.
A tweet novel.
Yeah.
Just put it on Amazon.
Yeah. That's what I did with my last one. That's what I did with my first novel. So that's up there. But never made any progress on that one. So who knows?
Yeah.
Which is just that's kind of the nature of things. Do you all hear that? And welcome back to the latest anime news for the week ending April 17th, 2021. Yes, I got the date right in there. Imagine that. So, one second. That's weird. I think we're good. Okay. Moving right along. It was announced way back in 2018 that Sunrise was collaborating with Legendary Pictures on a live-action Gundam film. This week brought another update. By way of Netflix, the service's Twitter account announced that it's part of the production of the film and also revealed the film's producer and director. The tweet reads, "Grab your mobile suits. Jordan Vogt-Roberts has been set to direct and produce Legendary's first ever live-action feature film version of Sunrise's Gundam for Netflix. He previously directed Legendary's Kong Skull Island and is also a video game and anime fan, describing himself on Twitter as, quote, seeing the world through an anime-tinted lens, end quote. Sunrise also tweeted about the film this week, confirming the co-production has officially begun. Comic book author Brian K. Vaughan of Ex Machina and Runaways is writing the script for the film and also serves as executive producer. And Legendary's Cale Boyder, who previously worked on Detective Pikachu, will oversee the project, along with the director of Netflix original films. There have been 2 previous attempts of a live-action Gundam, although neither of them could be called successful. In '83, Bandai, which had not yet acquired Sunrise, made an agreement with Lionsgate Films to make a live-action Gundam, the goal of using CGI for the majority of effects. We never got a chance to see an 80s CGI Gundam. Imagine that. But we did get G-Savior in 1999 by Canadian company Polestar, although it included none of the Japanese staff and creators of Gundam, or the term Gundam itself, and is generally just not really well-loved by fans of the series. So yeah, Netflix live-action Gundam film. Here's my question. Do you think it is a better choice for the franchise to go more limited, if you will, on Netflix. So you don't have to do a massive marketing blitz for the entire world, spend $100 million on marketing? Or do you go, for a wide film release and then at least get the exposure? Even if folks don't come to see the movie, they, at least the word Gundam is on the airwaves more.
Didn't we just talk about last week that Gundam in 25 years
Yeah.
has sold 700 million model kits? I mean, they don't really need a lot of advertising. All they need to do is just basically yell out the window and be like, Gundam movie! And then people will be like, oh, Gundam movie.
Well, I don't know. In North America, though. Like, do your coworkers know what Gundam is?
They may not know what Gundam is, but if it's, there won't be a kaiju involved, but they're going to think Pacific Rim.
Right.
Yeah.
And, and so if they can tap into the Pacific Rim fan base, then that'll be fine. Now, I think that the fact that they got the director for
Kong
Skull
Skull
Island.
Was that good or bad?
It was okay.
Yeah.
It was okay. It's the precursor to the movie that's out right now.
The Godzilla Kong film?
Yeah.
Oh. Well.
And so I think if you're having someone who's used to scale in their movies, like this guy is, then that's kind of a bonus.
It's true.
So it won't look weird and lopsided. Like I felt Pacific Rim was kind of weird and lopsided the way they did that. But that was just my own thing. But yeah, I think they could do a movie, and I think it would do moderately well. If they want to be assured of success, then Netflix is the way to go. But Netflix will be the assurance would be the Gundam market, because the Gundam market would go to Netflix and be there.
I would almost want to see them do a live action OVA. You know what I mean? Something that's proof of concept, because doing it, how do you tackle Gundam in a live action film that you're going to have to market it internationally? So it's not just you're going to make, you're not going to just look at Japan and be like, oh, it'll do great there because it always does. And you've got to make it do great here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's gotta be enough of the story for old school folks to be like, okay, I can get in on this and I know where you're going. And people who are like, ooh, I liked Pacific Rim. I liked, the Kong kaiju thing. This is going to be more like that kind of thing. And that they're going to make sense out of this.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'd almost like to see an OVA that's a shorter version that you could sort of run up the flagpole and be like, okay, are people going to see this and be like, wow, the Sci-Fi Channel made a movie again? It's like, I want to see what you're doing with this and how much you're going to be able to deliver character development and just the mechanical functionality of a Gundam and combat with Gundams.
Yeah.
Now, if you prove that, then I think you could have a potential sky's the limit. But
what I've seen, like the middle 20 minutes or so of Kong Skull Island, just on TV at some point. And for what it's worth, 69% on audience score on Kong Skull Island on Rotten Tomatoes. So as a note, and it does very much have that sense of scale of big things versus small things, and just the way the big thing moves relative to the small things. One thing I like about Kong is that he does move relatively quickly. He's not just a giant hulking thing that you're just kind of shooting things at. Like, he can swing a fist through the air and take out a helicopter.
Right.
So I definitely think in terms of, if you're going to choose somebody, this person definitely would have the chops in that perspective. But I hear you. I don't know. Edman40 saying in a chat, certain properties are meant for the medium they're created for. Gundam is a very anime property. It works great in manga too. Like that's fine as well. But yeah, it's hard to adapt Gundam to live action.
That's where it's going to be really interesting. And I mean, and it's Netflix, so if it is just terrible, and they absolutely own the rights to it, they can be like, nah, let's go put that in the back of the catalog somewhere, or
And let's be
find a way to
honest,
bury it.
No one will be surprised.
Like,
True.
Right?
They'll be
Yeah.
they'll be more surprised at wild success than
Yeah.
they will at, like, not doing anything. So,
Yeah.
which I wonder if that's part of like the meeting section. Be like, hi, Jordan, we have no expectations for this, but here's some money. Go wild. Let's see what we get. Like, oh.
And it should be pointed out, like there are a lot of properties where folks are like, this doesn't need to be Star Wars, right? Let's make this. Let's see if we can make success out of it. It might just, do okay. That's all right. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
It has some brand recognition and see where it goes.
Yeah.
So, hopeful. But as we said before, I don't think any of us are staking our emotional health on the success of a live action Gundam movie. Like,
Right.
Whatever happens, happens.
Steve's pachinko parlor
Well,
relies
that's true.
on this.
That is true. We do have to be careful about that one.
oh,
That's what the animation's for. It's for the pachinko machines when they're
Exactly.
making, so that they will actually have the pachinko stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah. So Wesley, it's hard because it depends on what you mean by popular, and I don't mean that to be evasive. Wesley's saying that Gundam and Macross Robotech are very popular in the Caribbean and South America. Is it not as popular in the U.S.? It's like Robotech particularly, it was very much part of the zeitgeist of the 80s, but that's kind of dissipated to an extent by now in terms of general popularity with kind of the average American. They probably heard the name, but they couldn't point at something and say, "Oh yeah, that's from Robotech." And Gundam just has not yet penetrated to the average person. Anyone who saw that in Ready Player One is like, "Oh, it's a giant robot." Okay, but they wouldn't have connected that to be the RX-78 too. So yeah, it just hasn't gone. Now within anime fandom, Gundam has skyrocketed over the past couple decades. It used to be this really small niche thing, and now it's pretty common. I don't know. Anyway, moving along. Anime production company AIC announced on Friday that it signed a business alliance with Toei Agency. The two companies now share joint ownership of several of AIC's anime properties and will jointly produce, develop, and operate new content based on them. These are two basically anime studios or anime studio kind of parent company things. The companies now co-own copyrights for series including the Tenchi Muyo franchise.
Wow.
Yeah. The Megazone 2-3 franchise.
Ooh.
Which, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dangayo.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. This is the reaction everyone has.
Huh?
The Bubblegum Crisis
Nani?
franchise.
Interesting.
Yes. The Gall Force franchise. And
Lord.
others. Both companies plan to develop new content for these shared franchises, such as AIC's ongoing 35th anniversary celebration anime reboot projects, which is set to include a brand new project in the Megazone 2-3 franchise, plus a Megazone 2-3 remake, plus a Pretty Sammy sequel.
Wow.
And others. Yes. Not a Pretty Sammy sequel. Toei Agency will also serve as the conduit for future business opportunities, so kind of making use of that big Toei marketing machine. Wow.
Boy, please don't make the Megazone. Don't make the new one be like
Don't make
1
crap.
to 2. You're like, oh look, it's all their grandkids again. Like, no. They
No.
redid it again. Like, so it's just awful. So please don't screw it up.
No, it's all going to be a bunch of cute lollies.
Oh,
who
God.
are-
They're gonna leverage the Toei franchise characters, so it's all gonna be like these kind of
all
cute
pretty
animal
cute.
characters doing stuff. Yeah, they're like, what the hell is going on here?
What I find so interesting is that AIC's doing a big 35th anniversary thing, and of all the things in the Tenchi Muyo franchise, they decided to do Pretty Sammy. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I don't get that very much.
There must be somebody's like deep passionate love for Pretty Sammy that's really driving that one.
And don't get me wrong, I love Pretty Sammy, but it's like weird. So yeah,
I wonder if there's any kind of like other rights tied up somewhere in other
there's
some of the Tenchi stuff where
Yeah.
Pretty Sammy's the least legally difficult thing to deal with.
Good point. Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah, Josh, I think that the Square Enix merger kind of does have sort of some parallels here. Because the AIC's been in an interesting spot where they kind of have felt they've kind of lost their way a little bit over the past decade or so. Just kind of not really making use of those franchises the way you kind of expect them to. So hopefully this will infuse things, Bubblegum Crisis, again, Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
One of the foundational Cyberpunk anime. Bring that back, please.
I was just thinking, if you want fresh new anime and you're using these nice new or older concepts in anime, Pretty Sammy saves Megazone 2-3.
There we go.
Whoa.
Go.
And
Perfect.
Tenchi and the group show up then to pilot it
Mhm.
back with their tree ships to the home planet Jirai.
Right.
I mean, Pretty Sammy got a mech at one point, so that's a whole thing.
Yeah.
It
Ooh,
can happen.
Megazone is just a repurposed tree ship.
Ah,
A Jirai
it's
tree
a
ship.
tree ship.
Jirai technology.
Yep.
It all
Yep.
makes sense.
Exactly. And then we don't find that out till Pretty Sammy. I don't know. Somebody's
More of an
taking
idea
notes
guy.
furiously out there now for a doujinshi. Be like, this is brilliant. Like, okay, you guys run with it. Until you make money, then it's mine.
There we go. Speaking of making money on well-known properties, why did that? Oh, there we go. Right, because we had a thing. Sorry. This week's issue of Akira Shoten's Besatsu Shonen Champion revealed that a new manga is coming in next month's issue based on some very classic characters. Spanish artist Kenny Ruiz is collaborating with Tezuka Productions to create a new manga based on various different characters from Osamu Tezuka's manga. The space spectacle manga will be titled Team Phoenix and will launch on May 12th with a 50-page first chapter.
Really?
Yeah. It takes place in a universe almost entirely ruled by a robot alliance. A knight named Sapphire becomes troubled over the pain of non-robots and makes a decision for a new future. In any case, anyone needs a reminder, Tezuka was the god of manga and created Astro Boy, Jungle Emperor Leo, Princess Knight, Dororo, and Phoenix, among others. Yeah. Very interesting to see another artist do a take on classic Tezuka characters, much like we got with Pluto, Naoki Urasawa's Pluto, which was a very different take on a classic Tezuka story. So, intriguing. Also intrigued that it's not like adapting a Tezuka story.
Yeah.
It's like we're going to mishmash a bunch of stuff together.
Right.
So, yeah, very interesting. Very cool.
It'll get the inspired by Tezuka label.
Yeah, exactly. Also this week, stories we wanted to mention, but may or may not dwell on. Love this one. Gundam creator Yoshiki Tomino made a brief appearance on a TV Asahi special about anime this week, and his comment promises plenty more to come from the 79-year-old director. The show's staff visited Sunrise to look at design archives from Gundam, and while there, asked him what his thoughts were on modern anime. He replied, "Giant robot shows are for kids, but while I'm alive and can make new works, I'll crush Demon Slayer and Evangelion."
He's a fiery old man.
If I didn't think that ambitiously, I wouldn't be making TV anime past the age of 80.
That's a certain level of awesomeness right there.
Damn.
Love it.
Wow.
That's the kind of guy he is. Just if we're gonna do it, we're gonna put all of our passion and interest into it.
Damn.
Yeah. A TV anime was announced this week based on Shinichi Fukuda's My Dress Up Darling manga. The story follows a recluse whose dream is to be a doll artisan and his trendy popular classmate who ropes him into her secret cosplay hobby.
I'll watch that.
Yeah, sure. Tannen ni Hako's This Healer's a Handful manga is also inspiring a TV anime. It describes itself as an isekai burnt-out adventure comedy, which centers on a hopeless swordsman and a sarcastic, sharp-tongued healer.
I'll watch that.
Yeah. Will you watch The Great Jahi Will Not Be Defeated, which is a TV anime coming from a manga set to air this summer? It tells the story of Jahi, the Dark Realm second in command, who has an unfortunate run-in with a magical girl and gets sent to the human realm with no powers.
Of course I'll watch that because that's the Demon Lord is a part-timer.
Yeah.
Because the Demon Lord doesn't have powers in the human realm. It's like he opens the portal and comes through, and he's just a normal person Demon Lord guy.
Yeah.
So it's like...
I was just going to say, it sounds like a Star Trek episode where Q loses his powers. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, pretty much.
I watched that, so sure.
Speaking of, then you might want to watch A Skeleton Knight in Another World, a TV anime from a light novel series. The main character falls asleep gaming one night, wakes up in the game world, but as a skeleton.
So, Overlord?
Yeah. The skeleton is terrifying looking, but apparently it's just a level 1 skeleton. So...
So Overlord meets Spider. So I'm a Spider and Demon Lord and Overlord, and you get the first level skeleton guy. Okay.
There we go. How about The Faraway Paladin? This is a light novel series following a human boy named Will, raised in a ruined city by 3 undead, as he works to unravel the mysteries of the past. Okay, you're for that?
Well, hell yeah.
Sure.
Hell yeah.
Sure.
All right.
I can't say that's one I've ever seen as a concept.
I've seen before.
Is he alive or is he also dead? It says human voice. I'm assuming he's alive. Like undead. Wow. Okay.
It's
okay. So 3 undead.
What's that Neil Gaiman story? The Neil Gaiman novel from a few years back. The Graveyard Book. The boy,
yes.
Yeah, the boy who's raised in a graveyard by the ghosts in the graveyard.
By like ghouls or
well,
ghosts?
No, ghosts. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say it's hard to raise a living child by ghouls and things like undead because eating flesh and brains and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'll just nibble in
Diversity.
a little bit.
We also have a new film in the anime adaptation of the humorous and adorable Evolutionary Creatures book series. It's basically humorous introductions to cool and surprising animal facts. There were several 4 short anime series and a series of live-action shorts, so it's getting a film coming up. And Toei announced on Friday it's producing a second anime film based on the science manga survival study manga series, which follows kids on various educational adventures. The first was on the human body, and the upcoming will adapt in the Survive in the Deep Sea story. Sounds fun.
I'm still waiting for another part of Are You Lost? You know, that was the survival of the 4 girls on an island after their school trip went awry. And they're, as far as the series is concerned, at least anime, they're still on the damn island. So
yep.
So we want to hurry that one up a little bit.
Not sure if who knows. Singer Eimer, and I'm probably mispronouncing that, and animator and director Ryo Timo have joined forces to create an original short anime project called Night World. It's a 7-minute short anime which debuted on Eimer's YouTube channel yesterday, with direction by Ryo Timo and theme song Trill by the singer. If you're planning to see the Demon Slayer Mugen Train film sometime soon, or have seen it already and want some background, head to Funimation to watch the 3 Demon Slayer TV episodes that were aired on Japanese TV last year. They're available in both subbed and dubbed versions on Funimation in the US, Canada, UK, and Ireland. Also an Anime Lab from Australia and New Zealand. Now, BMW has announced they're sponsoring esports teams, which will star together in an 8-chapter isekai manga by artist Aki Bright, which is called Heroes of Rivalry, where the players will be portrayed as heroes in a fantasy virtual training simulation. I love this. The manga promises to, and I quote, also provide surprising news about the future of the BMW esports involvement, end quote. I don't think I've ever seen a more corporate announcement than that.
So we have Super Cub for Honda, and now we're going to have like electric BMW car ad show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not even electric, it's just an esports thing. The final chapter of Attack on Titan was published in last week's issue of Kodansha's Bizatsu Shonen magazine after 11 years. The normal run apparently hasn't been enough. The issue is selling out in stores one after the other. Sales prompted an urgent second printing of the issue, which will arrive in bookstores across Japan April 30th.
And sell out promptly.
I wonder if that will become a collector's item. Like just that issue.
They're gonna have to stop the second printing then.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Otherwise, like the death of Superman
Yeah.
would have been a collector's
Oh.
item, except for they're like, oh, this is gonna be super hot and popular. Let's make 80 million of them. Be like, dude, whoa, slow down,
Yeah.
no.
6 variant covers and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
BMW Kun. Oh dear.
Yeah, here we go.
Next Isekai series, they're all BMWs. Truck Kuns all coming at you.
Driven by hamsters.
Yeah. No, my copy of Buddha over there, someone Tetsuga's Buddha, they published the hardcovers in limited runs for 2 deliberate reasons. One was because they're expensive and there's the market is small, but also to say, okay, we know we will sell this many, and so we will make our print, and then we can always do like a paperback printing later. But now you can't find them anywhere. Like it's gone. It's done.
Yeah.
Wow.
So $200 for one of those volumes these days.
Damn.
Yep. That's all the news for this week. Thank you for watching. See you all next week. Let's see here. What else?
I wonder if the Siberian forests in Russia have a deafening chainsaw roar as people are going for Attack on Titan manga. The first printing was 1/4 of this entire area.
Yeah.
The next printing is going to be 1/2 this entire area. Like, oh, crap.
Yeah, it's I wonder because that folks
Wait a
do
minute.
kind of love that thing.
What about my toilet paper, you bastards? I still can't get my
God made
4-ply.
leaves for.
Yeah, but I can't still get my 4-ply Hello Kitty toilet paper from Korea.
Yeah.
They don't have any. I found it was what is it? It was 36 rolls per pack,
Wow.
2-pack in a box,
Mhm.
and I found one that was like, I think it was a 12-pack, and it was like $60. I'm like, what?
Mhm.
Hello Kitty, damn you.
All right, I'm gonna talk about something I like.
Oh.
Which I don't know if you guys have seen. We'll see.
All right.
Welcome to Brent's Anime Recommendation Corner, where I talk about anime that I love. But I usually do it without this hat, which I'm gonna do now. Welcome to Brent's Anime Recommendation Corner, where I talk about anime that I happen to love. And today I'm talking about Figure 17.
I think you mentioned before. I think
I
remember this.
have mentioned this before.
Yeah.
So the basic premise
17.
is this is I have described this as half sci-fi action adventure and half Studio Ghibli film. It is set in Hokkaido, where a young girl is living with her father. They recently moved from the big city. Although I think that might be like Sapporo, out to the country.
Tokyo.
Yeah, not Tokyo. And so she's living out there. Very cute little girl. He is the new baker in town, pursuing that career. He left the big city to pursue his career after her mother died. Although her mother had died a little while, well, actually, not that far in the past. So she is now getting used to a new life out in the middle of nowhere. She has to make new friends, and she's a very quiet, shy girl. She just doesn't make friends easily. She's, having difficulty kind of with that kind of stuff. And as you can see, like she kind of has to get herself going because bakers have early hours. In case you didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. So she goes off to school, and then a spaceship crash lands in her backyard. In the woods behind her house. I think this was 2000 when this was made, roughly.
Yeah.
And so the spaceship lands in the woods, and she investigates. I will see if I can get to some of that stuff, because we have a lot of this sort of, little kids interacting in school, and a little bit of things happening there with a little bit of a melodrama there.
May 2000 to May 2002.
2000. Thank you.
2001. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and then we actually have a little bit of a Totoro moment there where she goes running to Papa. After just a long day at school, shall we say. So then, we won't get into that. Basically, her dog runs away. She runs out of the woods where she sees a crashed alien spaceship where monsters have gotten out. Big, terrifying monsters with lots of teeth. And the way she deals with that is she accidentally activates. Yeah, it's not pleasant. She accidentally activates a power, which I'm not going to be able to find an image of it, but let's just say this alien race has these biosuits that they can activate, which forms over their bodies and gives them powers, ability to fight things and defeat these monsters. Once this has happened, this biosuit synchronizes with you, and when it then goes back into its rest state, it goes back into your physical form. A human formed creature with its own AI that you can talk to and speak with. The idea, assumedly being that if you want to then use this machine, whatever, it is most convenient to have in the same shape as you are, because then it can it can sit in a chair or do whatever, right? And it has the same kind of physical form you have, and so it has that element to it. When she activates this, it takes on her form. Unfortunately, other monsters escape, so she has to keep this AI with her. So they slightly change the memories of her father so that she now has a sister, a twin sister, that can live with her for a while until they find all the monsters and are able to get them back. So it's sort of a monster of the week thing, right? But here's the thing. The AI is not her. It is an intelligence that is curious about the world, that wants to know kind of what's going on and kind of life. And is much more outgoing, much more naturally curious. So basically, the premise is, imagine spending a summer with your more outgoing, friendly self. And observing her at school, observing her with your friends, kind of now competing with her, in a way. Like, not directly, but now she's making friends and you're not, right?
Yeah.
So there's that whole layer going on. Very slice of life. Absolutely slice of life. And then, call comes in, they have to merge, fight off alien creature, and do that. And then, once they defeat all the monsters, the aliens are all going to go home. Right? So they're not going to stay together forever. Right? Like, that's part of the premise. She's going to go away eventually. She's going to lose her sister, basically. So there are all these interesting sort of levels to their personality and their relationship that are explored throughout the course of the story. This is the only anime I know that has ever been made in this way. Every episode is 45 minutes long.
Oh.
Which they aired monthly. The idea being that if they spend, they basically have twice as much time to spend on every episode. Because it's, an hour-long episode once a month instead of half an hour every week. So they could put the time and the effort into the visuals, into all, 13 episodes long, but 45-minute episodes. So it's, roughly a 26-episode series length.
Yeah.
Wow. If she wants to stay on Earth, that's too bad. Like, she is she's an AI on this planet. Like, they can't just leave behind this tech on Earth, right? They're not just going to let this stick around. Like, she needs to be. That's the premise, at least. And like, she doesn't have a say in that, right? Like, she's equipment, basically.
Right.
Now, to be clear, like the sci-fi alien guy that they live with, or that is doing this whole operation, like, he doesn't treat her as a tool. Like, he recognizes that she has sentience and so forth and so on. But like, that's not part of the plan. I have yet to meet anyone who said, well, no, everyone I've met or read online who said they've watched Figure 17 also said that they cried at the end. Myself included. It's one of those shows. It's not, I'll put it this way, it doesn't end with the Earth exploding. It's not one of those shows, right? It's not that kind of a thing.
No slow clapping.
No slow clapping, right. But it is, it's a drama. It is very much a drama about that thing and these characters dealing with that situation. I was extremely impressed with Figure 17. Now, it is 2001, 2002. Anime budgets were not huge at the time. So do not expect absurdly, high budget action sequences in every episode. But the attention to the emotional detail or the emotional journey of the main character, and what I really appreciate, how the kids all act, really hit home for me. Like, it feels honest about how these kids are interacting. They're all, I think, like 4th grade. And so they have that aspect where they're not mature yet. And they interact, and they're often immature. But they're not all idiots, right? They're not all treated like they're just either miniature adults or they're just, complete tabula rasas. They have these personalities. They have these approaches to things. And so it has this honesty to it that I really appreciated. And it has some very serious moments as well, dealing with some of the characters' backstories and so forth and so on. So I was very impressed with Figure 17. It was a really strong story all the way through, and really did emotionally get to me at the end, which, that's often what I look for in anime, is just a strong finish. That's what I got.
A compelling story with a lot of emotional commitment.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, love that show. Love that show. All right, we also have some history.
Ooh.
History exists.
Ooh.
I have 4 things this week.
Oh, wow.
Aha.
Yeah. Let's do some history. Why not? Going way back, too. Welcome
Wayback
to this
Machine.
Say what?
The Wayback
The
Machine.
Wayback
Yeah.
Machine.
Um,
Oh, wow.
I-
Yeah, that's way back.
Yeah. I'd use that, but that's a copyrighted thing. So, welcome to This Week in Anime History, where I talk about things that happened this week in anime history. Going all the way back to 1933, April 13th, and the premiere of Within the World of Power and Women. This is a very early anime, obviously 1933, also known as Chikara to Onna no Yo no Naka. It's an anime short film, and the first talkie anime films. The first anime film of any time featuring voiceovers, black and white. This is one of the best in the 12th Japan Media Arts Festival. The plot, which is on Wikipedia, amazingly enough, which I'll explain in a bit. The protagonist is the father of 4 children. His wife is 5.9 feet tall and weighs 260 pounds due to her rather large physique. He's constantly henpecked at home and thus becomes involved in an affair with a typist, then accidentally tells his wife about it while talking in his sleep. She then confronts both her husband and the typist at her husband's office. This is remarkable because there are no known prints of this film available. It's a lost film. and yet it's still out there. It's apparently gone. This was after the Great Kanto earthquake, but also to be clear, the Jazz Singer came out 6 years prior. So the first talkie film had only been made 6 years prior, and they made this. So full applause. And the first Japanese talkie live action film was made in 1931.
Damn.
So that was really, really cool. The funny thing was they had to hire actors because there was no such thing as a voice actor.
Mm-hmm.
They just hired actors for it.
Wow.
Thing. Apparently, the stars were hired from the Takarazuka Review. So tying that back into everything. But that's not all. There's plenty of other stuff that happened. We can move forward in time by a little while to April 12th, 1945, and the release of Momotaro's Sacred Sailors.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first feature-length animated film in Japan. Propaganda, World War II propaganda, very strongly. A film that was part of a tradition of trying to get folks to volunteer for the military, or at least drive more, more interest in the military. Unfortunately, being released in April of 1945, things were not going well, and everybody knew it.
Yeah.
So not a huge success in there, but it was made, and it is now available from Funimation on Blu-ray. So you can go and grab that if you would like.
Wow.
Yeah. Moving forward to slightly happier news, in 1954, April 14th, Katsuhiro Otomo was born.
Hey.
Yeah, the creator of Akira, and who had an assistant work with him named Satoshi Kon, who later on went on to do some pretty cool things. Apparently, apparently some of the covers of Akira were painted by Satoshi Kon, but I've not been able to find like a confirmation of that anywhere. But yeah, very cool. Also,
what's the medal?
The medal, I am not sure what that is.
Okay.
I believe it was it was some like cultural prize, I think, in Japan.
Okay.
He was. If you're interested in more of his interesting work, look for the anime film Memories, which is a collection of 3 like, short films, all put back to back, as part of this film, including one of them directed by Satoshi Kon. So kind of his first major work. And then moving on quite a few decades to you guys will know this as soon as I say it, the worst double feature in human history.
Oh boy. Yeah.
The release in April 16th of Grave of the Fireflies and Totoro, back to back in theaters.
So cute, so tragic. So cute, so tragic.
So, Grave of the Fireflies was first on the bill.
Oh God.
So folks watch that. And the stuff I read about it is this prompted some confusion from parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
And partly because
we're going to see Totoro in this wonderful movie before Grave of the Fireflies. It sounds so cute.
This is the thing, is that everyone knew what Grave of the Fireflies was. And they also could they could see like the promotional stuff for My Neighbor Totoro. So like, okay, so Grave clearly isn't going to be like as tragic as the story is, because Totoro is clearly this nice thing. So clearly we're going to get like this middle ground, right? Like we're going to get something that's just kind of, serious and dramatic, but not that, and then...
Well, they tried it the other way around initially, but the suicide rate afterwards was too terrible, so they flipped the billing. Oh,
yeah,
gosh.
It's bad. Audio's fading in and out. Okay, apologies. I'll see what I can do on that. But yeah, that was how those movies first aired.
That just screams like, here's your gut punch, and then some candy afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like
a cookie will make you feel better.
Yeah, weird, very, very weird. But that was well. And to be fair, again, Ghibli was not 88, so they'd had Totoro and Castle in the Sky. I'm sorry, they had Nausicaa and Castle on the Sky.
Nausicaa.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
And both of those had eventually sold okay once they got through all of the releases, but like not really successful in theaters. And so it's like, okay, well, we got to kind of do a package deal, get the folks in. It's like, well, so apparently there was some conversations had afterwards by some of the audience. Of, what did you just see?
Yeah.
So there's a double VHS pack you probably don't want to buy. Just here's these two films back to back.
Yeah.
Oh man.
No.
Well, I have a question.
What did we learn on the show tonight, Brent?
Perfect as always.
The Glee Club.
I learned that within 10 years, Netflix will own half the anime. Given Gundam and everything else going on. I learned that there is a lot... there's a lot of anime being made, and that I'm okay with that. And that I'm surprisingly I'm interested in a lot more anime than I thought it would be. Like there's a lot of stuff out there where I was like, oh yeah, I'd watch more of this. That's cool. I didn't nope out of a lot of anime the way I do some seasons, which is cool. And what else? I also learned that there's an audience for certain kinds of shows among otaku that I don't know that I'm comfortable with. Certain premises for certain relationships between characters at different ages that I'm just not quite happy with. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just saying. I don't know. How about you guys?
I learned there's more anime seasonal watching than we could possibly fit in a day.
Yeah. It got there.
And I also I'm okay with that. It's one of those things where it's like too much of a good thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like there's so much. Steve, you've seen some we couldn't get to.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw a ton. And it's like, so that makes the seasonal watching. It's like, wow, that we're at a point that, okay, maybe this is just a little aberration because this is sort of catching up from COVID. So maybe this is like the bleed over that couldn't happen during COVID time.
Mm-hmm.
So that this is just, it's a little fuller right now and then it'll settle down. But for one, I would be just really, really happy if we had this breadth and depth of anime titles and styles all across the landscape going forward.
Yeah, totally.
Even with some of the more creeper subject matter that, it's content.
Mm-hmm.
It's not patently internationally illegal, presumably. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's a little sketchy, but you know what? It's more content, and more content that is available is great. We're not rolling the clock back to 30 years ago where you had to get a bootleg tape from somebody who knew somebody or a mail order house somewhere. You know what I mean? So this is a good thing. It's a good thing. I'm sleepy.
Yeah. I just checked. John and I watched 23 episodes of anime today, and there are at least 13 other shows we didn't watch.
Yeah.
Not counting sequels.
Right.
Yeah. Like I've started watching How Not to Summon a Demon Lord again.
Yeah.
So like there are sequels I'm starting to watch again. And that's just beautiful. It's beautiful to have that. And I'm very excited that would be the way. And yes, Netflix is increasing its stake in anime. And you know what? Good.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want to see more international funding. I'd like to see, companies out of France, out of the UK, out of, South America, Central America. I'd like to see them making investments in us globally getting more anime. I'd like to see that also trigger more contributions by those countries themselves, so that we're more depth and breadth of interesting content, not just slapstick comedy and like little shorts and stuff, but like some non-Disney related properties, and so like Brent's light novel, somebody as an American company doing anime could pick it up and make an anime out of it. I hope this is a future that we're going to see come to be. So,
Yeah.
There we go. That's that.
Steve, how you?
Preach it to the choir.
Yeah. Preach, brother.
Testify.
Amen. Amen.
Copy.
So
No.
what have I learned?
Copy.
So what have I learned? I'm sure I learned something somewhere along the way. I'm just not sure. I'm a little bit befuddled at the moment. There is a ton. I've learned that there is a ton of anime out there, and that this particular season was larger than normal, and very much enjoyable. Again, just like everybody's saying here, it's nice to have this. It's a welcome problem to have. It's a very nice. It's a very nice problem to have. We should all have these kinds of problems in our lives. And and I've learned that despite having these problems, that there's so much anime, I've learned that you have to have a can-do attitude as you're watching these anime, whether you're watching it 23 at one time or going over the span of a week after you've been throwing cases of beer on the shelves and stuff, that you have to have a can-do attitude to push through that embolism that you have as you're watching these anime, so that you can get through, because you want to be able to talk about it without sounding like you've had a stroke. So I've learned that there is actually I've learned that I'm not too happy with the sports anime, but I'm finding wonderful anime there. Shamisen, what about Shamisen, of course, the Eternity, and I've discovered a love of slimes.
Hey, yeah.
A love of slimes, because
I read that
Diary of
manga,
Slimes. Yeah, and Diary of Slimes. We didn't get to talk about that today, but that was something. And
very cute behind the scenes. Very cute.
Very cute behind the scenes, and I have learned that creepy. I will never have a teenage girl in my apartment. Ever. That is not of my own blood, whether cloned or birthed.
Your daughter shows up. Daddy, I'm 13. Get out! No. I will never have a teen daughter in my house. Come back when you're 20.
And I've learned that when you do see a teen sitting underneath a streetlight at 2 a.m. and you've been drinking malt liquor and you feel angry, just keep moving.
Or call the police.
Child Protective Services, 911.
Yeah. Call the police.
There's a girl out.
Just call the police. Because the last thing that you want in your life is to someone write a light novel, manga, make an anime of your life because you chose to bring
poorly
a 17-year-old girl. There are such things as bad choices in life. Fire is pain, and 17-year-olds when they're not your daughter is a bad idea.
Yeah. Very good. Well, I have two announcements to finish it out tonight. The first is that in July, for the summer anime watching party, we're starting at 4 in the morning so that we can get through everything.
Wait a minute. That means I have to walk the dogs at like 1:30 in the morning to be on station at 4. Oh, love it. I'm going to sleep for like 2 days.
I'm kidding.
But wouldn't that be awesome if that was the problem we had?
Yeah, exactly.
Or if this is the trend that continues next year, maybe we're gonna have to set up Monday through Friday what we're each individually going to watch to get us to a point where Saturday we can meet and watch the remainder that we have not individually seen.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
To be like, wow, this is great. We covered the entire breadth of 50,
for that.
of 50 series.
Yeah. Or we start on Friday and just watch continuously.
Oh, another onsen trip where all we do is bathe in anime.
I'm totally up for that.
I vote for that.
The other announcement, which is actually serious and true and honest, not a joke, OnCon 4 is coming June 19th.
Damn.
So in about 2 months,
Yes.
I'll be doing another OnCon. We'll be having more panels, same format as last time. We'll start early on Friday evening. We'll do some intro stuff, and then on the Saturday the 19th of June, we'll be doing another OnCon with more fun content. And yes, Nozomi Entertainment will be back. We'll be streaming more anime on Twitch to stream.
Sweet.
Yes. The theme this year will be anime in history. Yeah, so history as theme. So that is the plan. More details to come, especially over the next couple of days. TBA, exactly. And we'll get the website out there and all that kind of stuff updated. We just want to let everyone here know ahead of time that is happening, and we'll get more info on there. Yeah, that is the plan. Cool. So cool. Thank you all. That'll do it for us for tonight. Appreciate it. Have a great one. Charmy, I'll go ahead and post it in the Discord. I got it's a bunch of stuff I'm going to do tomorrow. Just put everything out on all the things. So I'll get it all out there tomorrow. Thank you. Yeah, I've got it. And have a great week. We will see you all next week. Have a great one. Toodaloo.
Sayonara.
See ya.